Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 686. It is July 1st, 2021. My name is Nick Henderson, and I'm joined tonight by Brad Simons.
Hello.
Christopher Guthridge.
Hello.
And Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
And tonight, first of all, we have a lot to talk about tonight. But before we do this, I want to do something I've never really done before. Because I was thinking about Discord a lot today. And I get really excited when I pop into our Discord and I see the introductions channel has lit up, because it usually means somebody new has joined the channel and popped in to say hello and introduce themselves. So I wanted to say welcome to some new members to our Discord. Just going back, a week or two, we had Moom. Moom came back and joined the Discord, so welcome, Moom. We also had Reboot.exe. Welcome to the Discord. Welcome to the community. And Per. So it's P-E-R. Per. I just wanted to say hello and welcome. Thank you for joining our Discord. Thank you for being a part of the community. And I want to encourage people, if you're listening to the show and you have not joined our Discord, please do. It's discord.gg/4player. And if you do join, just pop into that introductions channel, say hello, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe tell us what your favorite games are. I don't care. Whatever it is, whatever you want to tell us. But yeah, we'd love to hear that from you guys. And it looks like Reboot is actually in chat tonight. So welcome, Reboot. But yeah, Brad, you were out last week, yeah. and before that was E3, so it's been like literally weeks.
That's why it feels like I've had too much to talk about.
Yeah, you have a lot to talk about. So I think maybe instead of wasting too much time, we'll jump into that in just a second. But again, if you didn't listen last week, or if you missed the show last week, I just want to send a shout out to our Twitch and Patreon supporters, our paid supporters, because it's thanks to you guys that we were able to invest in some new recording equipment. So most of us here are now using the same microphone, and we got new arms and shock mounts and all this good stuff. So I hope.
Don't I sound so weird on this new mic?
I mean, do you think you sound weird on this new mic?
Well, it might be confusing to people who don't realize that I'm currently sick.
Oh,
they might be thinking, wow, Brad sounds real different, all raspy and deep and sexy.
I'm going to be honest. Crispy picked up on that way faster than I did. Actually, both Chris's picked up on that way faster than I did.
The only thing I noticed... people, I think.
Well, thanks. I mean, the thing I noticed first was that you were actually just kind of quiet, and that's just, that's unusual. So,
I've known Brad for almost 10 years now. I've heard that voice at many different volumes.
Yep.
Many different times.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Brad's feeling a little under the weather, but he showed up like a champ, because if he skipped this show, he would have even more to talk about.
I mean, I'm already leaving stuff off my list.
And if he skipped this show, then he wouldn't be able to wish you a happy birthday.
Oh, it was Nick's birthday yesterday.
I paid Chris Davis to bring that up. I
brought cupcakes. Enjoy.
I slid him an extra $1 in our paychecks to get him to say that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I went to the movies last night for the first time.
Whoa! I thought you were watching The Thing.
Yeah, no,
I picture. It was very
confusing.
Deceptive.
I know, but I didn't want to take a picture during the actual movie, because that'd be phones away, phones silent during the movie or whatever. So
sure.
I just took a picture of the pre-show roll.
How many people were in the theater?
Well, we were the first people there, because you can go in 30 minutes before the screening, and we were the first people there. So the theater was literally empty at that point, but there was about, I'd say, 12 to 15 people when it was all said and done. I mean, the A Quiet Place has been out for like a month, and it was a Wednesday night, and
okay.
the
I feel like when
theater is
people ask you
obviously
how
still bouncing back.
many people were in the theater, they're not so concerned about how many people were in the theater when you arrived, Nick. This is very
Well, no,
interesting detail, though.
I know. I just thought you were alluding to the fact that I took a picture of the theater and it was clearly empty.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're a
No,
bootlegger.
yeah, no, but yeah, I saw A Quiet Place 2 last night, and I liked it a lot. So I know Brad, you saw it recently too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I did.
What
It
did
was
you think?
brief. Pleasantly brief, I
I
guess.
mean, both those movies are about
It's re-
90 minutes.
Yeah, but that was a movie I never expected to get a sequel, and then when they said it was going to have a sequel and it was going to have like flashbacks and everything, I was like, "Oh boy, this is like a franchise now. This thing's probably going to be 2.5 hours, like everything else in Hollywood these days."
No,
But no, it was also a brief 90 minutes, and it didn't get too much into the weeds, which is what I was worried about.
right. And on top of that, they did manage to do some world building without stretching the runtime too much, and but at the same time they kept the actual story that they were telling in the moment going, uh, without slowing that down tremendously. So I don't know. I liked it a lot. I said this. I kind of tweeted about this last night. I feel like that movie had a lot of unexpected parallels to The Last of Us. Um, which when you watch it you'll probably see what I'm talking about, but
Huh.
like that, the opening sequence in particular felt very much like the opening sequence to me of The Last of Us. And then a certain character is introduced at some point and there's like a dynamic that kind of feels very Joel and Ellie-esque, I think, in that movie. I don't know, I ended up really really enjoying it, probably way more than I was expecting. So that was my maiden voyage back to the movie theater after 16 months or whatever it was. It was rather fitting because before the pandemic started, we had tickets to see A Quiet Place 2, and then that's when the theaters closed. And then that's the movie we went back to see when we finally went back. So, I don't know, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Do recommend it. But anyways, like I said, Brad has a lot of ground to cover. So why don't we start with you, Brad?
Sort of, I
You had
guess. I
Where do you
mean,
want to start?
whatever Chris Davis clicks, I guess.
Well, I always like to go in alphabetical order if we could.
Okay, that's fair.
Alphabetical order.
Let's start with Mario Golf.
Fine. We'll do Mario Golf.
What's the full name of that game? I don't know.
Wait, I just put Mario Golf on the overlay. Is there a bigger name to that?
Of course there is. You think they would just call it Mario
It's like
Golf? There's
Super
been, like,
Mario
a
Golf
bunch
or
of
something
these.
like that.
Every
No,
podcast that
no.
I've heard about this, they've only referred to it as Mario Golf. So,
No, because no one knows Mario Golf Super Rush. Which
oh shit.
I probably have the least amount to say about this game but I figured it would be worth bringing up because it is a new game, first party game for the Switch, and I guess that's worth talking about. Now
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
even forgot to pop out my window so I could see what y'all are saying. But hey, have you ever played Mario? Have you ever played a golf game?
Yes.
I haven't played a golf game since Wii Sports.
Well, it's
That,
kind of like that, but with some new twists, I guess. It is a golf game. Um, I like golf games. Golf games are cool, right?
When done
Um,
well, they're actually quite fun.
Golf
Yeah.
Story is a fantastic game.
Mario Golf games in the past have been, I think, really good. Like the Camelot ones on GBA were really cool because they were kind of like RPGs, right? And I feel like they're trying to bring back that mode with the adventure mode where you have you're playing as your me, which sucks because who
Uh,
likes me's
Because
anymore? Um,
why do they continue with this me thing? I don't understand
nobody
it.
wants a me.
Nobody
well,
wants this.
in this mode, it's like you're running around town getting into golf matches and stuff, and you're like leveling up your character, increasing like stats and the areas that you choose, and so it kind of has that adventure mode. I haven't gotten like super far in it though because honestly it's a little dull, and you can't like between golf matches. I mean, there's like no sprint or jump. You're just kind of walking all over the place, and you're talking to people, and they don't. I don't know. It's very much like let's skip this dialogue because I don't really care, even though it's I guess mildly entertaining or clever or whatever. But it's like I just want to play some golf, I guess. And really, what I want to do is unlock all the courses and stuff. And I think you have to play this adventure mode to get through that, which is fine because there's like, more unique stuff in the adventure mode where you're like, there's like boss fights and shit where you're like hitting golf balls at things, I think.
Well, what's
Um,
the mode that everybody's talking about that they like that kind of that everyone
oh,
kind of
well, I'll
seems to
talk
think
about
brings it
that now.
down?
Um, the new thing they added for this game is speed golf, which is what you're seeing in this footage here. It is golf, but everybody tees off at the same time, and then you're like you run towards where your ball's at, and you're like dashing and jumping and like trying to knock other players out of the way with your turbo run or whatever. And each character has like a different type of like run ability, and every character has a different type of like special shot ability where you're like knocking people's balls out of the way. It's very arcadey like
That
Mario.
sounds
Like
like that
like like
should
you
be
if
fun.
you've played other Mario sports games and stuff, you know that like, different characters have different power-ups and shit like that too. But the speed golf's cool because, you're playing at the same time, right? So it's very frantic and they're doing special powers and knocking shit around and it can get kind of hectic, which I guess
Are you
is
are you playing solo or are you playing with like Malia or anybody or
uh well, I did some. Right now, I'm playing solo just versus the computer, just for like the sake of footage. I mean, I think there's like online multiplayer and stuff, but I just been doing that single player adventure mode. I have played a little bit with Malia, just kind of like regular golf, pass and play. I take my turn, she takes her turn. Um, but you know,
So what
I,
what is
I
the
I feel like
incentive to just racing along? Like
I fuck
what
up
you
so bad in this footage right here. Huh?
it looks like it.
The advantage to racing along because it's like points based, and I think if you get the ball in the hole first, you get extra points. You know what I mean? So
okay?
you want to be the first one to get the ball in the hole. Um,
And
that's
you
why
can
you're knocking.
sabotage other players, right? To
Exactly,
some
you can
extent, yeah.
sabotage other players pretty badly. Man, I really fucked this up. But I get a birdie next thing. I feel like this weird thing with golf games, especially Mario Golf, because I feel like when you're doing a Mario game, you can get really crazy with the courses and stuff, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like you eventually get there, but like the first two courses I played on were just really boring,
Pain.
like pretty straightforward. This is a par five. It's far away, and you'll eventually make it to the green. This is the first course I unlocked where there's like stuff happening, like wind blowing and shit rolling around. I kind of just wish that these games would get to that shit faster.
Like it
Like you
should
can be
feel like you're
crazy,
actually
right? It's a
it should feel
Mario
like
sports
you're
game.
yeah, it should feel like you're running through a level of Mario uh and you just happen to be playing golf while you're
Yeah,
doing that.
dude, like fucking Dark Cloud 2, that shit it's a
Man, I always
dungeon.
forget.
Yeah,
What was
you
that? What was
play
that game called? Spherda? Is that?
Sfeda, and
So
at the
good.
end, so you're doing these random generated levels, right? And once you beat the level, you can play golf in the level. It was such a cool idea, but it was great in that game. Um, Here, I kind of just wish. I feel like this happens every time I play one of these Mario golf games. And ultimately, I think what I want is not a golf game, but just like a Mario putt game. Just be
Yeah.
wacky and crazy right from the start, instead of like, oh, you can do my long drive because I never really understood golf, right?
Just
Because
in general?
well, I never understood like so
Are we talking about the
let's
rules or
let's say
the
you can hit the
appeal?
ball really far, right? But,
Right.
like, it's still probably gonna take you on a par 4 or whatever, or par 3 or whatever, like, 2 shots to hit the green, right?
I
Right?
mean, if you're
So,
lucky.
like, if you could hit the ball further than everybody on the first shot when you're teeing off, what does it matter when you're just gonna have to hit it not as far on the second hit, right?
Well, I mean, there is something to be
Everybody's
said.
gonna reach the green in 2 shots, so
Well,
what does
there's
having extra power matter?
it doesn't even it doesn't it's not about extra power necessarily. It's about having control, skill, the
No,
skill
I know
to like
there are
control the ball
characters that are
better.
good at like control, but what I'm saying is, especially in speed golf, right? So let's say we can all hit the ball to the green in 2 shots, right?
Sure.
Right? But if I'm a power hitter, I hit the ball further away, which means I have longer to run to get to my ball to hit it again. And the people who hit it not as far the first time can get to their ball quicker, and they can still make it to the green on their second shot or the third shot, right? To the point
But
where
by that,
I feel like
but
hitting the
if
ball
someone
further initially is actually,
if
you know,
somebody makes it onto the green in 3 shots and you make it on in 2, you were already at an advantage.
but see, no one is that much stronger. I mean, I feel like the courses are not designed in such a way to where a
Eh,
power
probably
hitter
not.
is going to hit it to 2 versus 3, but what are we talking about? Who cares? It's Mario Golf. It's okay. It's lacking in content. I think there's only like 6 courses. It's the same shit that people have been complaining about for like the past 10 years of fucking Mario sports games, right? Where they feel
Right.
really half-assed. There's some new fresh ideas. It happened with that tennis game that also came out on that Switch. People were excited about the adventure mode because it was going to be back to the old school days, like on the Game Boy Advance when they were like full-fledged RPGs, and it's just not that. They're just not that. They're not fully developed. They're kind of half-assed. It's not there's not enough content, and it's like it's such a wasted fucking opportunity because I feel like they could really like go crazy with it.
I mean,
And
and they've gone
you know,
crazy with this shit before. I think I
It
always think about when I think about Mario sports games, I always think about I had a roommate in college who was obsessed with Super Mario Strikers. And like that game looked fun as hell.
sure,
Uh
Strikers was cool, but
that was
that
fun.
came out in an
Yeah.
era where they tried a little bit harder. I feel like, and now they're just kind of. I think these are like lower budget Mario games, and they don't want to spend a lot of money. And I guess it's fine if you're gonna play a lot of like multiplayer, maybe, but come on, how long does it take to design a golf course, a video game
Strikers
golf
comes
course?
from an
Come on,
era
man.
when Nintendo was willing to experiment with some of these things. Like Strikers is the game where we got a fucking crotch chop in a Mario game and where the Princess Daisy got turned into trailer trash. Like like
I don't I don't remember that.
oh dude, you should go back
I
and
mean,
watch some videos.
it's been a very long time since I played that. I just remember it being pretty out there.
It's
Um,
Mario Golf. If you got like fucking roommates or something, or some good online friends who are also going to get it, maybe get it. But otherwise, probably just wait for a sale. If you're going to if you're going to play it by yourself, it's probably not worth it right now. But that's all I got to say.
cool.
Well, it sounds to me, Brad, like you really should play Golf Story.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think
It's
everyone
funny
should play
because
Golf Story,
Golf
but
Story is sort of a throwback to those old Mario RPGs on the Game Boy Advance.
yeah.
So, which
Is
is what
Golf Story the horror one?
no, it's the
No,
Wait a
Switch.
second.
it's tongue in cheek
No.
golf focused RPG.
But Crispy has my attention now. Is there a horror golf game that I'm not aware of?
Yeah. I mean, it's mini golf, but yeah.
That sounds even better.
I want to know what this is too.
Somebody remember the name of this game and tell me what it is.
You
All
guys
right.
haven't heard of it? You've heard of this. This is a thing.
I mean, it might be something that I remember that I just kind of pushed.
Let me see if I can find it.
Please do, because that sounds kind of awesome. Brad, where do you want to go from here? You still have other games you want to talk about?
Yeah. I guess we'll talk about Monster Hunter Stories too,
Ooh, I played this. I played this demo.
because it's kind of out more or less, right? Since the demo is the start of the game and your save data carries over, and you can, there's a lot of like time you could spend playing this if you want to, right? There's
Yeah.
a lot of side quests. There's shit to do. You can grind out, in Monster Hunter Stories just like you can do in regular Monster Hunter, right?
Right.
Where you want to craft a bunch of armor sets and weapons and upgrade those armor sets and weapons. You can, kill those monsters over and over again until you get all those fucking parts, and then just make all that shit, right? So you could spend a lot of time playing this demo, which is just the
Yeah.
beginning of the game before, in the lead up to the release of the game, because that save data carries over. The thing is, like, at the same time, it's not Monster Hunter. It's Monster Hunter Stories, which is and it's an RPG, like a JRPG, kind of skews younger than regular Monster Hunter. So it's not. You probably don't need to like grind out all this stuff, right? You're probably just making
Right.
the game even easier than it already is. So I don't really
So
understand that.
real quick, I was kind of I've been kind of on the fence about this game in general for
Sure.
quite a while, to be totally honest. Because I loved Monster Hunter Rise, and I wasn't quite sure if I was ready for another Monster Hunter game. So I kind of burned myself out on it really quick. So I'm like, maybe I should wait. Uh, and me, I haven't played like a JRPG and like really sunk some time into a JRPG in quite a while. Um, so I wasn't quite sure what to think about this. I played the demo, and now I'm pretty much kind of on board for this. I'm pretty excited. It goes a lot more in depth than I thought, and it has a lot of really great presentational aspects to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything feels snappy. Everything feels good. The world is really cool. I like the character. I liked the character creator. In fact, one of the reasons I was asking today, Brad, for clarification on the save transfer more than anything was like I liked the character that I made, and I didn't want
Uh,
to have to try and recreate her again.
yeah, these are
So
well produced like JRPGs. That's why people kind of talk shit. Like if Monster Hunter is doing this with their little side spin-off series, why is Pokemon still kind of
yeah,
feel like it's 10 years old or whatever the
and
fuck
it's also surprising. Like as someone who is still relatively kind of a newbie to the Monster Hunter bigger
world?
franchise, I suppose. Yeah, like there's still like even after playing 60 hours of Rise, there are still things I wasn't quite I don't quite have down yet. A lot of this has to do with like the symbols that are commonly used for items and the names of things that are commonly used for items.
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff carries over. Like you're picking up items in this game that immediately were recognizable because I was seeing the
Yeah.
same iconography
And it's
in
cool, right?
Rise.
Like, I
Yeah,
think one
yeah,
of the
it's
biggest
neat.
strengths of this game is, like, if you like Monster Hunter, like, there's so much just Monster Hunter fan service because you know all these monsters, you know all these armor sets and weapons and stuff, and when you see one that you really like, it's like, "Oh, I wanna fucking make that because I love that," and when you go into battle and you're selecting your various skills and stuff, and, like, they look just like, combo moves, like, right from the actual Monster Hunter proper series, it's like, it's fucking cool, right?
Right.
I've played more Monster Hunter than you, obviously, Nick, and there's still like it's very exciting, but there's still like mon, you know, like 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 a lot of the monsters that you're fighting in this demo aren't even in World. They're not in Rise. Like Velocidrome, Bulldrome,
They're from like they're deeper cuts for like they go farther back in the
yeah, yeah,
history and stuff.
they go further back. So you're even if you've played like a lot of Monster Hunter, you're gonna see stuff you haven't seen, and you're gonna see all that familiar stuff, and that's gonna be really exciting, I think. And
Yeah.
I don't know the combat system. I think they added more depth than how it was in the first game, but it's still not like super deep. And I
It's
think
kind of like rock paper scissorsy, you know what I mean? Because
yeah, it's kind
you're
of
looking at
rock paper
attacks that
scissorsy where
there's
you
power,
have like
speed, and technical attacks, and they have a set rule like power overwhelms speed or no I forgot what the
yeah, yeah.
cycle is. They
Power
all
overwhelms technique, and technique overwhelms speed, and speed overwhelms power. But
right, right,
but
right,
also you have three. There's two monsties and two player characters in battle, but you're only issuing commands to one of them, right? The
right,
rest is kind of like the AI doing its own thing. But I guess the strategy is kind of like learning the flow, learning the monster that you're fighting, and making sure oh, if this is a bull drone, that's probably like a power character. Let's be using my speed attacks, but also bringing out your speed monsters. Also be trying to sync up your move type with the with your AI so you can do like combo attacks and stuff.
right,
But also, the enemies this time have like weapon weaknesses, and um they give like weapon statuses to the different weapons, right? So like the hammer is like blunt damage, and the great sword is like slashing damage, and then you have the bow and the gun lance be like piercing damage. So you're constantly like switching weapons and stuff too, and each weapon has kind of like its own mechanic, right? It's not super deep, but like with the gun lance, for example, you have to do various attacks skills to like build up your like shell meter or whatever to like get your shells, and then you can depending on how many shells you have loaded, you can do like more powerful attacks and stuff. Honestly, it's a little. It feels a little like aimless to me, right? Because one, I think this game is so like in a traditional JRPG, you go to like the first town and you buy like like the wooden sword and the wooden shield and the wooden armor or whatever, right? And that might be the best stuff that town sold, but you save up for it, you buy it, and now you're like powerful enough to like fight the stuff in that area. But then you find another town and they're selling like the iron sword and the iron armor and the iron shield, and you save up and you upgrade to that stuff, and now you have the more powerful armor and weapons and stuff, right? It's a little weird in this game because like regular Monster Hunter, everything has like has like its own armor and its own weapons for the most part, right? But
Yeah.
I was excited to craft like a kuliaku sword or whatever, right? Sword and shield, but then I kill the puke puke, and it's like, well, I can make the puke puke sword, and it's just a lot better. But so why would I buy and upgrade this? I feel like I never know when to spend my money and start upgrading shit. If as I play this game, I'm gonna keep encountering more and more powerful monsters. I feel like I'm just holding on to my shit because I know like the next thing is going to be just a little bit more powerful, and I don't know when that's going to be, but I know it's coming because every new monster I come across, the armor's just a little bit better and the weapon's just a little bit stronger, and it puts me in this weird like I kind of just like the whole, well, this town only sells this one thing and it's the next more powerful thing, and as opposed to like every time I go to the forge he can make all of this stuff. But I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm having a hard time explaining why it just seems kind of aimless to me
I mean,
because
maybe when you get when you get the bigger picture. I mean, I know this is a pretty meaty demo, and it kind of paints a pretty good picture, I think. But like, maybe when you kind of see it in full context, that won't be as big of a
yeah, maybe.
problem.
So
I don't know.
maybe so like in regular Monster Hunter, the reason you would use like armor that is not from the most powerful monster is because it has certain skills, armor skills, right, that you want, right?
Hmm.
So I might be using like armor that has lower defense here. But here, like the skills I feel like mean so little, especially because the game's not very hard, that I'm not going to be wearing armor just for the skills. I'm just going to take the one with the highest defense, in which case it's just very weird.
Hey, real quick, I hate to interject. Chris Davis, do you know this thing's up with the video?
I don't think anyone cares that much.
And also, your mic is muted, Chris Davis. I can't hear you.
Oh,
Why can I move and y'all can't? Sure.
Yeah,
Hang on.
I don't know. That's yeah. All of our cameras are frozen except for except for Chris Davis's.
All right, let me refresh.
So
Hang on.
just wanted to make sure you're aware of it. Anyways,
Yeah.
uh,
so yeah, it's a lot of my love for Monster Hunter is me getting really addicted to like the systems of unlocking new shit and upgrading that shit, and getting into the skill system, and like I feel like the hooks for that are here, but it's not necessary. It's actually one of my issues I have with Rise is that I think the game's too easy to the point where you don't really have to care as much about min maxing or whatever than you versus how it
and I
was in
don't
older
think this
Monster Hunter
game is
games.
necessarily going to be remembered as being necessarily a challenge. The things
No,
that are attractive to me about this are just kind of being exposed to the larger Monster Hunter lore and all that. And also I just think it like is a really good looking game. Like it's very like combat, like
well,
battles look really flashy and
you're
like
right.
and maybe it's
Uh,
just been a while since I've played a modern JRPG. But like I was really digging the way just battles feel and unfold. Like I feel like everything has a good weight to it, and the attack animations are appropriately epic. And I don't know,
yeah, I
I'm into it.
mean,
I'm
it's not
especially. I
super
think I'm
deep.
no. I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to be a particularly deep RPG necessarily. I mean, it does seem like it's. I mean, like you said, this does skew towards a younger audience. It might be the Monster Hunter game that they use to like target a younger audience. But at the end of the day, they still put a lot of effort into it, and maybe it's just attractive to me right now because I am going on a bit of a road trip in August, and it's like I was like hoping for a Switch game to
Yeah.
enjoy, and I was like, this might be
This is
perfect for
one of
that.
Nick's road trip games.
It's
Yeah.
Nick
one of
has a
my
very like specific space where he puts games that he's like kind of, like, okay, but I don't want to get hurt, right? Like he's cautious of a game like this.
But how
And
cautious am I?
He's like, it's like meeting a girl at a bar and being like, "You're kind of cool. Let's go on a road trip next week and see how we click."
Does that happen? Do people do that? Is that a
I
thing?
don't think so, Nick.
Serial
it is
killers,
worth-
maybe.
I
It
mean,
is
how
worth
safe
noting-
am I? How careful am I being if I'm dropping $60 on this and I might not like it?
Yeah, it's. I mean,
I
that's
mean, there's
possible.
inherent risk in any.
I mean,
new-
I recommend it to anyone who's played like a handful of Monster Hunter games. But
I don't like the cat.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
he's very like goofy.
Annoying.
And he's like a mascot character, and
And
he
it-
does a
it-
lot of puns. But all the cats do puns, right?
They're palicos, is what they do.
I know, but like he doesn't look. It's funny. He doesn't look like a palico in the traditional sense. He actually
he's
looks like an.
Meowth. He's fucking
Yeah,
Meowth.
He's
a
an
weird-looking
analog to
cat
Meowth.
who talks.
Like it's funny because like it's obvious like they obviously want to have like a companion character that goes on this journey with you, and it makes sense to be a palico because it's Monster Hunter. But they ended up just giving him the same coloration, and the same kind of personality as Meowth from Pokemon, and it's like, what the fuck? But I don't know.
Anyways, yeah, it is worth noting though that there is some frame rate issues. Like when you're in town, running around the world on your monster, it's not like the smoothest experience. So it is like high
Did not really
production
bother
values.
me though.
Yeah,
Did not really
I mean,
bother
you
me
get
though.
used to
in
it,
the
I
grand
guess.
scheme of
Did you
things.
play in handheld or on a TV?
Handheld?
It's much more noticeable on a TV. I feel like.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll pop it onto my because I haven't played it at all on my TV yet. Maybe I'll
Well,
give
no,
that a try.
I mean, then leave it on a handheld. If you're gonna play on a handheld, play it on a handheld. But it's cool. I'm excited because I'm actually kind of into the story. I mean, like the voice acting and shit is good.
Can you tell me this? Can you tell me this?
Yeah.
Why the fuck does the village chief have 4 fingers? Sorry, 4 fingers on his hand?
Oh, he's
Everybody
a
else.
Wyverian.
Oh, so there is a reason for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing he's a Wyverian. I
What is
don't
a
really
Wyverian?
recall.
They're the elf people.
Yeah, they're like the elf people.
Okay, because
They
he
all
looks human,
Claws.
but he has 4 fingers on both hands, and I was like, and it
Mhm.
looks weird, and then I was like starting to think like, do all the humans in Monster Hunter have 4 fingers, and I just never
No,
noticed?
There's elf people, Nick.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Or unless he's just like the Black Power Ranger, and you don't really notice until you're like, oh wow, dude's missing
Wait,
a
did the
finger.
Black Power Ranger only have?
Yeah, he was missing a finger on one of his hands.
Really?
Look at some old footage. Yeah,
Dang shit. Okay, interesting. I learn new
Not-
things every
it's
day.
so weird though. When he transformed, he grew a finger back. It's so weird.
And the Yellow Ranger was played by a dude in the action scenes.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know that.
That seems odd.
Also, rest in peace, Trini.
yes,
Yeah.
I do remember that. Unfortunately, so yeah, this looks cool. I think we'll probably revisit this on a future show. This kind of coming out in a couple
It's
weeks.
Monster Hunter. Of
so-
course we're gonna fucking revisit it.
Well,
okay,
I mean,
Mr. Chris, Mr.
you gotta
cynical Chris
understand though.
Davis.
Like, I'm excited to play this, but like, I still have not even finished this demo. I've I'm not hooked on this like I get hooked on a Monster Hunter game. It's a very, very different thing. So I don't know.
But
how
you
much
are
it's
also-
gonna be.
We've done like 25, 30 shows this year, and half of them have featured Monster Hunter.
Hey,
You're not listening to me. This is a Monster Hunter. It's Monster Hunter stories.
Chris Davis is finally getting a taste of his own medicine.
My medicine? Oh, explain yourself.
I'm just no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there.
You wanted to go to the Division, and I only talked about the Division
No,
3 times.
I was gonna go. I was
Really?
gonna go
in
with.
5 years.
Really?
Yes.
Well, maybe it just feels that way. Okay, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, should I do my third game or do you want to?
Let's switch gears for a
Okay.
second. Well, first of all, I didn't really see anything on the dock. I know Crispy played part of that Final Fantasy expansion. I don't know if you wanted to give an update on that. I know you didn't bring footage, but
Oh, you guys want to talk about Final Fantasy 14?
I want to give you the opportunity to talk
Shadowbringers?
about it. Yeah, fucking dude, do it.
I wasn't really planning on talking about it until I got to the end, just because I'm kind of taking it in, and it's a very layered, textured thing. You know, there's a lot
And
of
you're
twists.
not at the end yet, is what you're saying.
I'm not at the end.
Okay.
And there's a lot of twists and turns, and there's a lot of things that could happen that recontextualize the experience, you know? I just want to make
Okay.
sure that I kind of, I had a glimpse of the whole thing before I started laying down any heavy opinions. But I will say, if you want to hear a quick little update on how it's going going
Absolutely.
pretty fucking amazing, actually. I'm deeply in love with Shadowbringers, actually.
And Shadowbringers is the more
Just fucking crazy vibe, man. Just
Like,
completely different than the rest of the other game. Like I've seen stuff that looked like it was straight out of like Fatal Frame so far. That's like, wow, that's crazy.
Fatal
It,
Frame.
like, yeah, like fucking, yeah. I don't know, man. Like the
ghosts.
Tell me
the
why
kind of
this
like
is so highly.
atmosphere, the kind of like atmosphere and tone and mood of like a FromSoft game.
Ooh.
Like it's crazy. It's really good.
Is Shadowbringers the most recent? Is that the last
It's the
expansion
last
prior
one.
to
That was
Endwalker,
from
or
2019.
and yeah, and that
Uh,
this is the one that everybody's been kind of raving about more recently. I would imagine.
This is
when
the
the
one that
fans
kind of
started
sits
to
in the
get really.
tops.
This is when the fans started to get really like weird and abrasive about their love. for-
Weird and abrasive. Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
this is when it kind of started
The memes
hitting
started.
the mainstream. Kind of started hitting the webs. Um,
Cool.
yeah, it's really cool, man. It's a lot of fun.
But you kind of just started it, right?
I mean, I'm about of a. Let's
Well,
see. I'm at 75, and it goes from 70 to 80, but I'm not quite at the halfway mark of like the content.
Okay, I just
Call it maybe a third.
give me a little more details as to why this thing people love this fucking thing so much.
He's putting the pressure on.
Well, I guess I'm asking why you love it so
He's
much.
putting
But,
me on trial.
but
I mean, I've already kind of mentioned what it is that I really like about it. And I don't want to get too specific about it because I think I'm not like a fucking spoiler snob kind of guy. Obviously, we all know that. But I do think that something about the novelty of it does kind of help. The story comes from a place of ignorance, and like it comes from a place of like constantly discovering new things. So it's kind of fun to go through and discover it that way. But it has so like yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how much I want to talk about it. But
Well,
all right.
what do you want to know? Like I don't know what.
Well,
I feel like maybe Brad for for a future episode should put like a list of specific questions and
What?
like it should be like an interview.
I
Brad
mean,
asks
I
specific
can tell
Well,
you,
he just
I can tell you, there's
them.
some interesting. I can tell you, there's some interesting like mechanical additions to the game.
no, I
They
don't care about mechanics. Like
no,
people talk
I'm
about
not.
like the
I mean, I'm not
story,
talking
like
about like boss mechanic stuff. I mean, like they've added a thing now where like you can do dungeons with, not just with like nameless NPCs, but like with the party NPCs.
Oh, okay.
Like the scions, like your buddies. You can do dungeons with them, and there's like specific dialogue that they have in the dungeons that you can only listen to there. That like depend on who they're with or like which dungeon you're in and stuff. That kind of stuff is where it's like, oh, they're really trying to make it feel more like a Final Fantasy game if you wanted to play it that way, which I think is really cool, and I think it's worked out really well. I've still been doing Party Finder for a lot of instances and playing with other people, um, but that content does seem really interesting.
It's just
And honestly,
Shadow.
everything else that I'm really into right now is, the story stuff, the story, the mood, the themes, the atmosphere. It's all really cool. It's like without getting too much into it, you basically are dealing with like an inverse of the sort of cosmological problems that are typical in this game, where it's like light versus darkness kind of thing, right? And they
Yeah.
just have kind of said, okay, but like, what if?
Yeah, even I know that much, right?
Yeah,
The bad guys are actually been the good guys, that kind of thing.
yeah, but it's like, yeah,
You know,
that doesn't
Crispy.
really cover it. I mean, it's
I
so
know.
much more about theme than about like specific plot, you know? Like,
Okay, that's the good.
yeah.
That's the stuff I want to hear.
And honestly, I mean, I feel like that's like the strongest Final Fantasies just in general. That's kind of been true.
Like, not
Like
that the plot hasn't been amazing. Like, there's revelations and there's stuff popping up now that like they were touching on like 2 patches ago that they're like finally kind of like bringing into the forefront, and they're explaining things that were like kind of confusing before, where it's like they told you something that would have made sense if you had a larger context, but you didn't, so you were kind of like, I don't know what to do with that, I'll shuffle it away. And then they're bringing it back. Like, it's fun iterative storytelling, right? It's like I've been following this series for a long time now, like a year now, and like things are happening, and it's satisfying, and they're surprising, but also like they feel right. You know, it's good payoff to stuff,
which is
and
not something which is not something that often comes easy with an MMO. I feel
right.
like.
And I feel like each one of these expansions has had its own distinct vibe, its own distinct feel, its own like mise en scène that was kind of separate from each other and from the base game itself, you know? And this one happens to be like really, really super strong, you know? It's kind of like if you took some of the like Longest Night and like the fucking light gods and dark gods from like, you know, Game of Thrones, and you just like inversed everything and you made a story based on that. It's like really fucking good. Like,
That sounds cool. You know, perhaps so. I do want to hear, especially after you finish this one, because when you finish this, you're pretty much ready for it's Endwalker, right? Is the last expansion that they just announced,
Endwalker's the one that's coming out this year in November. Yes.
and that
So
is okay.
so hopefully by this time next week I'll be into post patch or
Okay.
into the post expansion patches. So I'll be more or less like up to date and
If
Yeah.
you can, if you can get some footage, I'm just I want to see. The reason I want to see footage at this point specifically is because when I think of Final Fantasy 14, I think of basically what I've played. I haven't really been paying a whole lot of attention to all of the new stuff. So my experience is purely like practically it's a Realm Reborn. Basically, it's just like early shit. So at this point, I want to see just how vastly different the experience looks because man,
Yeah.
I still haven't been able to bring myself to uninstall it from my PC.
I think part of that too is like I'd want to show you cutscenes from what
Yeah.
cutscenes look like now, but there isn't like a one I can think of that isn't just like
Super
fucking
spoiler.
earth shattering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Gotcha. All
but
right. Well,
it's we'll get some stuff. Maybe I'll get some stuff from the Final Fantasy Tactics raid, or
yeah.
get
Do
some
it.
stuff
Do it.
from the Near raid. There's a
I want to
Near
see.
raid in Shadowbringers.
I want to see some crazy shit. Just when you can, grab some footage. Okay. Before we throw it back to Brad for his for Astalon, I want to talk a little bit because last week I had this moment where I was like, man, I have so many games I want to play. You know, we've all had this thought. So many games I want to play. I have like a fucking stack over here, and I'm just like, what do I do? When am I gonna get to that stuff? And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna pick something on my backlog and I'm gonna go. And I decided to play Blasphemous finally. Uh, you know, came out in 2019, 2D Metroidvania style game, but with a lot of like dark religious undertones and stuff. And I blew through this, played it for like 18 hours, couldn't put it down. And we were having some conversations in Discord that, you might want to bring that up in a second, Brad, because you had some questions about it. You've been on the fence about this game for a while, but this is after having played this game now, this is definitely up there for me as far as like, and again, I'm not the most experienced Metroidvania player. I've only played like a handful of them. I love the genre now, but I definitely don't have kind of like the history that someone like Brad has played a whole bunch of these things. But this is up there for me. This is like, I'm not going to go out and say this is like Hollow Knight, because Hollow Knight I think is kind of untouchable at this point, but this certainly takes a stab at it, and it gets
This is a
pretty
Souls
close.
like.
Yes,
right?
it is
Okay.
a Souls-like Metroidvania. It's Metroidvania in its like level design and world design, but in its mechanically speaking and its flow, it is definitely a Souls-like in very much the same way as Hollow Knight, except instead of the one trade-off that I think it kind of makes this different is, and maybe ends up making this more approachable, less stressful, is that like And, you know, most Souls likes, you die, you lose all of the experience, and you have to get back to your body to get it before you die. And this, you don't lose experience. So if I get a whole bunch of uh, stuff, if I get a whole bunch of experience while I'm out there and then I die, I still retain all that. What I'm sacrificing though is you have a magic meter, and if you're looking at the footage, it's the blue meter. So every time you die, you take on guilt, and the guilt manifests in like your magic meter slowly gets depleted to the point where like your max health, your max magic or ability points goes down. So you can't use your special abilities in
Kind
combat
of
nearly
like
as often.
it's kind of like Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
Is that yeah? I suppose you're right. Although still haven't touched that demo, um, and I'm probably not going to. But yeah, so you know, it's a little bit of it's a different trade off. I think a lot of the appeal of this game is going to stem from uh, the the sheer style of it, like the visual language of it. I guess it's super dark and it's honestly it is very Souls like in its story because Chris Davis is going to hate this. It's very obtuse in its story, and you kind of just you kind of pick up on like it's never very it doesn't expressly tell you what the conflict is, and a lot of it is very like uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I don't want to use Shakespearean, but it's just it's hard to kind of wrap your head around what the actual story is. And a lot of the lore, like people talk to you in riddles, and they say all kinds of, and not to mention if you don't have like a deep, maybe a deep understanding of like or knowledge of like the Bible and like the you know dark religious shit that goes on in that, you may not recognize a lot of the shit that happens in this game. But it has all of the like really good Souls like atmosphere and tone and enemy design and like the side quests that you stumble into are really neat. Like you spend a lot of time. So like in Hollow Knight, it was what it was the charms, right? Is that what they're called? It's been a while since I played Hollow Knight.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So in Hollow Knight you had charms. In this game you have rosary beads, and you have before you and you collect beads very much the same way that you do charms, and they have various passive abilities or stat boosts or whatever. But and you equip them to the knots in your rosary bead. But first you have to find all of the knots in the world. So it's kind of a layered thing. You have to explore first, find the knots, and you have to take it to this NPC who will then tie the knots that allows you to equip the beads. So it gives you a lot of incentive to explore because when you start the game, you only have I think two knots, but by the end of it, you have 8. So that's the kind of it does a lot of the similar tricks to kind of encourage exploration, but it has a twist to it that are pretty unique to this game.
How's the hitting things?
Feels good. I feel like the combat maybe is less varied than, but I mean that may not even be fair because you know it is you are very agile in this game, and by the time but when you start out, like I remember playing Hollow Knight and the first time I was like, man, I didn't like the way the character felt because you didn't have a double jump at the beginning. You were very slow in the way you attack, but the more you play, the more charms you got, the fast like you know you started to become a lot more powerfully, and it's very much the same way here. By the end of it, your combat, especially with bosses, is doing a lot of like carefully timed parries and dodges and slides and jumping and double jumping, and you know it's very I don't know, a lot of the things that make Hollow Knight what it is are all present here, but it rewards exploration very very well, just like a good Metroidvania should.
Are
Like
there secrets and shit?
dude, there's tons of secrets, and like if you're looking like in the footage that I just ran, like you're at this mountaintop area and there's the snow covered area, and I ran past this tree that looked like it had a person in it, but you couldn't quite tell, and like the tree looked like it had hair, and it turns out I had done something that had locked me out of accessing this part, this like dialogue. But there actually was a person in the tree, but like I had done something that had basically cursed him and caused him to become part of the tree.
Very
So
Soulsian.
yeah, it is very Soulsian. The whole game is very Soulsian. But like you do some really cool shit. Like you have these save points, right, all over the place, like the equivalent of a bonfire or whatever. But at like the main base area, like the town, there's this like church, and you can make donations to the church, and it doesn't really tell you what making the donations does necessarily, but you can sacrifice money you've been accumulating, and instead of spending it on upgrading yourself, you can just donate it to the church. And I was like, I don't know what this is doing, but I feel like I should do it, so I started doing it. And
Very
over time,
Soulsy.
every time you do it, you come back to the church starts getting more and more ornate. And then once you've donated a certain amount to the church, like all of a sudden,
You
next
get
time
to
you
go
run
to
into
heaven.
like, you go to the save points, and the save points have all like changed shape. They have these like people like holding them up in the air, and like when I click on it now I can actually teleport and fast travel between save points rather
Okay.
than set like the more rare like mirrors that you can go into that kind of let you travel around the world. So it's worth exploring and taking cues from the environment, even though it doesn't necessarily tell you expressly what they're doing. So a lot of the stuff feels very Soulsian, feels very Hollow Knight-esque, and it does it all very, very well. It's very good. It's very good.
You ever
I,
played
I think
Salt and Sanctuary?
I have. I didn't finish it.
Okay.
I played like 10 hours of it, and but I'm like, I think it was Nolan that was talking about this. I've never liked, and I know this is not super important. I've never been a huge fan of their particular art style, and it's
Oh,
always been kind of a turnoff for me. I know, I know, I know. It's
that was
shallow as
me.
hell. Was
Oh,
that you? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
no, it's everybody.
I
It's
mean,
not
Every
shallow as
shallow
hell.
person out there.
it's
I
not a
mean,
very, it's not a very appealing look. First of all, and I didn't know this going into it. I know Brad said that it was a very publicized thing, I guess, but I just stumbled into a area in this game, a secret area that was a crossover with sorry, not Blast. This is Blasphemous.
Bloodstain.
Bloodstained, right? And you
Yeah.
meet Miriam from Bloodstained, and then it unlocks these platforming challenges that are very like Guacamelee and like in their design in terms of like instead of like combat focus, it's about getting through these like really ornate looking like uh levels that look very much like ripped right out of Bloodstained, which was really really cool. But it kind of made me sad because I actually love the art style in this game, and you actually get to see Miriam rendered in this particular art style, and I was like, oh man, I really wish Bloodstained looked more
Didn't
like
look
this.
hideous, Nick.
Yeah, it basically. Uh,
Fair enough.
but yeah, I mean, it was just a really cool thing.
I'm so
Not seeing
glad
it
we're
coming
having
was
this
cool.
conversation because we're going to get into it with the next game as well.
Cool.
I
Well,
mean,
why don't we just? I mean, the next game has some. I
I've
mean, I
been
would
playing a
imagine it shares some
Metroidvania
comment.
as well.
Yeah.
Although this one is not, a Soulsian wannabe, I guess. This is more of a, you know, just roll the footage. Um, so I've been really enjoying this Astalon Tears of the Earth game, and you probably have not heard too much about it. And, it's probably because, it looks the way that it does, honestly. If it
I
looked like
actually
Blasphemous, people would probably be talking about it. Um,
I
but
like the look of this, to
that's
be
just
honest.
kind of, well, sure, it's not bad or anything, right? But how many like pixel art, games have you seen? Indie games have you seen that kind of look like this or whatever,
Right.
right?
This reminds me a little
It's
bit of
not.
Shovel
It's
Knight in
not.
terms of its approach to.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shovel Knight, which is an incredible fucking game, right? But when Shovel Knight came out, I guess people were less tired of that look, maybe, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the kind of thing where people might see some screenshots and go, whatever. There's like a million of these. Um, or they might see a trailer and go, this actually looks kind of okay.
Have you
But
said the name of this game yet?
yeah, Astalon Tears of the Earth is what
Oh,
it's
okay.
called. It's actually um, made by this indie developer who made this game called Castle in the Darkness, I believe it's called, or
Hmm.
Castle of the Darkness. And that is a Metroidvania that's kind of like uh I guess in the more like enthusiast circles often brought up of like, hey man, like this is an indie Metroidvania that's like legit, right?
Right.
But not a lot of people have played it or tried it, right? It had a similar look, if you will, but it came out probably, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago at this point. Honestly, I don't really remember. I've never actually played it, but you pop into a thread of like, hey, what are like the best Metroidvanias, or what are some good underrated Metroidvanias, it would come up a lot, right? I've always wanted to try it, but I've always been like about picky or whatever. But I come from the belief that you know, outside of like Metroid, Castlevania is like my favorite Metroidvania series, and I started liking those with Symphony of the Night. And those weren't just Metroid style games; they're also kind of like RPGs, right? So I've always been of the opinion like, oh, I really want my Metroidvanias to be meaty, to have lots of like systems I can spend a lot of time in. But when I finished Bloodstained, I hit 50 hours, right? You don't have to play that game for 50 hours, but there's 50 hours of shit to do if you want to do it, right? And that's
Right.
sort of always been my so I see indie Metroidvanias come out, and I'm always like asking around, like, how long is this thing, right? Like how much game am I going to get out of it? And I go on these threads, and then they're like, oh, I 100%ed it in like 5-6 hours, and I'm like, okay, maybe this shit's tight, but like, man, that it's always that shit with these indie Metroidvanias. They're always 5, 6, 8 hours, to 100%, and that's fine. It really is fine. But like I said, I come from this place where I like to squeeze 50 hours out of my Castlevania games, right? Um, Again, that's really, I'm just explaining kind of why I didn't play the game that this the previous game that this developer made, and why I may have like passed on this one at a first glance, because I just get the vibe of like this is going to be a 6 hour Metroidvania.
Right.
And but I kind of did a little bit of research, and I found out that it wasn't that. Actually, there's a little bit more meat to this, and not in terms of like, well, yeah. So I don't want to scare anybody off, because this is not a roguelike, right? But progression is very kind of like Rogue Legacy, where when you die, you kind of go back to this starting point with like a shopkeeper, and like you use all the orbs you've gathered up to this point to like upgrade your character, or various characters, because there's actually other characters. There's three main characters, and there's some secret characters here. You upgrade like their strength and their defense, or you kind of improve their other various abilities.
Right.
Very Rogue Legacy, right? But then when you get back into the world, you are starting at the beginning of the castle, but it's not a rogue like nothing actually changes in terms of like the way the world is laid out. And you realize that it's not about like restarting the run, even though you're going to the beginning of the castle. It's sort of about chipping away at what is a very intricately designed world. Like this game, it's like honestly incredible level design for this type of game, where you're constantly unlocking like shortcuts and secret passages to help you get around the world quicker, and areas start connecting in ways you didn't expect them to. And just you get a lot of satisfaction of kind of like unraveling the castle, the areas,
I
right?
feel
To
like that's
where
kind of the other side, other half of the Souls like equation
yeah,
that maybe doesn't get mentioned as often. So even if it's not like Souls in like the other way,
yeah,
the right like way I was
the
talking about in Blasphemous,
the
it's that
tension
other side.
as that's building as you start running out of Estus flasks, right?
Mhm.
Swigs, and all of a sudden you unlock a shortcut, and your bonfire is on the other end, and it's like this release, and it's like one of the best feelings in the world. This game is kind of all about that, because it's not this is a hard game, and it's not just hard as in it's easy to die. It's easy to die, like it's easy to die by like 1,000 cuts or whatever, because there is no easy way to get health back, right? So it might be a while before you unlock a shortcut, or you find a new teleport point, or an elevator room, or whatever, or the next
Right.
save point, which isn't even really a save point, but it is a place where you can like stop the game. And if you're kind of sloppy with your play, taking hits here and there, you're not gonna fucking make it. You're gonna find yourself falling on a spike pit and just dying outright, and having to kind of go back to the beginning of the castle, because the game very like specifically doesn't want you to restore your health easily at all. Like for example, there are these candles in the castle, and I went up to one, and I was just kind of attacking, and it cracked a little bit, and I'm like, oh my god, this is just like this reminds me so much of the the save points in Shovel Knight, where you can choose to break them to get extra money, but that was kind of like your checkpoint. So now you need to finish this level because you're gonna have to start the level over again because you chose to break this save point. Well, I broke one of these things in this game and it gave me like 3 health, 4 health. And I'm like, that's not a lot. And then I died and I came back and that candle was still broken. It was still broken, and all I ever got from that breaking that candle was 4 health, and I'm like, what? This doesn't make a lot of sense. Like it wasn't even that valuable, and now it's broken forever. But in that shop at the beginning of it's not a run at the beginning of the castle, you can choose to like restore all of those candles in the castle that probably only happen like once every 10 rooms, right? And they're
Right.
only giving you 4 health, and you have to spend a lot of gold to bring them back because even a little bit of health is very valuable because exploration and getting to that next release point of a shortcut of an elevator room is everything, right?
Right.
So and it's just, man, I don't know what to tell you. The
Hey,
secrets are fucking
I have a
good. Like they
I have a
keep things
question.
really cryptic, right? Where in that shop at the beginning, you can it doesn't tell you what any of this shit is, right? And you're even collecting items in the world, and you don't really know what they do. You could choose to spend your orbs on this thing called knowledge, and all that does is like tells you a little bit about the items that you're picking up, right? And you're you kind of don't even, but it's sort of that thing where the game kind of wants you to figure this shit out on your own, right? Like I didn't understand what was going on with those candles, and now I do. And like understanding the world, on top of unraveling it is the level design is very rewarding, honestly. And
So I have a question because you haven't mentioned it yet,
here's
but I
one of those
noticed in the
games.
gameplay you're switching between characters. So you have 3 characters, right? So how
Yeah.
does that work?
Well, at the beginning of the game, you have these 3 characters, this party of characters, and you can't actually switch between them on the fly. That was one of the upgrades that I got, like in the castle, and the characters are kind of have specific abilities or they're good at certain things, and you eventually start coming like in a Metroid style way, like these vines that only the blue knight can actually pass, right? So you might
Right.
actually have to go back to a save point, switch to that character, and then try to make it through those rooms just with that character because only he can get past those blue vines or those vines, right? And it's kind of like this extra challenge of like, I need to be upgrading all my characters because um, I'm gonna have to use all of them, right? And I'm gonna have
Right.
to get good with all of them. But eventually, you get an upgrade that lets you switch between them on the fly, which feels like such like the huge weight off your shoulders. It's like this really powerful upgrade, and I feel like a lot of this game is finding like really powerful, meaningful upgrades. Like the little knight has like no range, right? But you can upgrade his defense higher than others, but he has no range. But eventually, he gets a sword that lets him reflect projectiles, the mirror sword or whatever. And it's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's such a cool, meaningful upgrade. And I like that. Like you really feel like you're getting more powerful in this game, even though it remains hard. But I will say there's like this really awkward situation that I'm in where I discovered the way a certain room works in this game, where I first came across like this big stone head and I didn't know what it was, and I attacked it and I just died. And I'm like, I don't know why I just died. I guess don't attack that big stone head because I fucking died. And then I went back. I came across that room again, which was behind some secret wall, and I hit it again a couple of times, and I died. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Again, this game has like that sort of cryptic shit in it. And eventually, I had enough health, and I was using a high defensive character that I broke this stone mask, and a little 2 appeared next to my health points or whatever. And eventually, I realized that once I did this, I now every orb that I picked up, which is the currency to upgrade your characters, is now like 2 times orbs, right?
Hmm.
But you had to sacrifice a bunch of health by destroying this big stone head before you could activate the ability to get like double the amount of orbs, right? But then I found another one of those rooms and I killed that, and it give me 3 times orbs, it gave me 4 times orbs. So like it's basically doubling the amount of orbs that I
So next
earned.
time you'll get 8.
next time I'll get 8, and then I found a third one, and it gave me 8 times orbs. But the trade-off is that you have to throw away a lot of your health to be able to destroy these stone heads. So you're basically playing the game with very low health, but now every time you kill something, you get 8 times experience. Well, me being who I am, like, okay, well, I'm going to take the knight. I'm just going to spend all of my orbs maxing his defense so he doesn't actually take a lot of damage from these stone heads. And now I'm rolling around earning 8 times orbs. I find a good spot where I can like exit a room and re enter a room, over and over again and,
Yeah, yeah.
and kill someone with my ranged character, like a really tough enemy. And now I'm drowning in orbs. Right. And I'm like, well, shit, like I found a really easy way to like upgrade my characters, and that's really going to reduce the difficulty. And about the same time I figured out this trick, the developer released a patch that just kind of made things easier on top of that, because I think people were kind of complaining about the difficulty early on, because especially starting out before you can switch characters, the game is really difficult. So combined with the fact that just kind of where I'm in the game, where I can freely switch characters, um, I figured out
You
this orb
accidentally
trick,
made the whole
and
thing
a
too
patch
easy.
just came in to make the game easier. I'm in
Yeah.
this weird awkward spot where this game went from very difficult to like not a breeze, but like it's a very different feeling. Like I'm all of a sudden not really worried about taking random hits here and there because I become suddenly really powerful. It's like this
Isn't there
collision
some
of
satisfaction in knowing you worked for that and you earned it?
sure, of course. I mean, I love Symphony of the Night. That game's easy as fuck to break, right? But it's just a very different feeling than kind of how the first. So I'm like probably played this game for like 15 hours, and I'm like
Yeah.
60% of the way through the map, and that's because I really take my time and I look for all these secret walls. Maybe it wouldn't take someone super long to finish this game. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's taken me a long time, and a lot of that time was really kind of like chipping away at this castle, like I said, unlocking this door, unlocking this secret. And now I'm just kind of like it's really speeding up because I'm getting a lot better at my characters are getting a lot better. And but it's good, man. If you like Metroidvanias and you
Are you
really
playing this on
respect
Switch?
like really I'm playing this on Switch. If you really respect like good level design, like really challenging, just like getting to that next save point or shortcut point in that release, right? If you really
Yeah.
like that, then
I
this
do
is like a
like that
really
release.
good game for that. And yeah, it doesn't look as nice as Blasphemous, but the fucking music kicks ass, and it,
I think this has a very
it's
lovely
good.
style to it. You know what I
Yeah,
especially
it's very
love?
Shovel Knight. It's very Shovel Knight.
I especially loved the little cutscene where you were sitting around the fire with your friends. Like that had a really nice look to it. Like I dig that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
and you get these little like cutscenes when you rest at a campfire where the characters talk because uh, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but one of the characters in your party, the core 3 party, knows that they're in a loop, but the others 2 don't. So you get to have
Oh.
these like cool conversations where one of the character knows a lot more about what's going on and keeps cooking these meals, and everyone thinks that they're having it for the first time, but he's been making that fucking meal forever. Like even though there's not a lot of story, it's like surprisingly good, and the music is good, and like really vibing with this game. And as much as I like Monster Hunter and golf, I guess. Like the reason I have not been playing as much as those games, the reason I still have not finished the Monster Hunter Stories demo is because I've been really addicted to this game. It's really good.
It looks
So
cool.
if
I might
you
check
like
this out myself.
Metroidvanias, if you like Shovel Knight, if you like good fucking music, if you like Castlevania, there's a
I'm
lot of
coming I'm
Castlevania
I'm
nods.
coming off of Blasphemous, and I'll be honest, I wouldn't argue with
You
having another one of those
Yeah,
to just
I
pick up and
recommend it.
go.
You're gonna have to fight for it early on though, because it's not easy.
Cool. I like it. Uh, Real quick, there was something I wanted to mention about Blasphemous that I completely forgot. But like, just one example of something that I thought was really cool, because you do find these like hard to find like artifacts or like I forgot what you call them. Just these items throughout the game that you go through special challenges or you
Yeah,
fight special bosses and you find
yeah.
these things. But you can only equip 3 of them at a time. But so you have to kind of like really be choosy about what you pick. But there's one because it's a it's kind of like a classic Metroidvania. If you're in a room or an area that has like a pit and you fall into the pit, you die. But there are some areas you can only get to by equipping this special rag, and when you have that rag equipped and you fall from any room in the game, no matter what it is, if you fall into a pit, whatever, you just fall through it and you fall into whatever's below it. So it's like endless pits don't exist anymore because you
Wow,
don't
that
suffer fall damage. So you can
that's
fall
kind of a
into
weird like
yeah,
all this that happened in classic Castlevania where when all of a sudden when Rondo of Blood came out or whatever, all of a sudden the bottomless pits were actually just pathways to rooms below you, and it's like
yeah.
whoa.
It's a cool way, and like it's one of those things where like the item description kind of has this like it's the way it's written is very lore like. It's like it's telling you about like what the item is in the lore, but it kind of alludes to what it does, but it doesn't outright tell you what it is. So you just kind of have to like take the context clues, equip it, and then see what it does. So I just equipped it and then jumped into a pit, and then all of a sudden I fell, and I was in this area that wasn't even
Wow,
visible on the map at first. And there's a whole bunch of these things.
that's very
Uh,
Stolzian as well.
yeah, it's cool. So yeah, I feel like I'm in just this like Metroidvania mood right now. So like I kind of want to. Do you remember how much Astalon is? Because I'm
I
looking
think
for
it's
another
20
game to play on my
bucks.
Switch.
I think it's $20.
I might check that out.
But aren't you
'Cause
gonna
I'm
play
still
stories too, Nick?
I am, but right now that's for all intents and purposes a
That's a road
demo.
trip game.
Yeah, you're right. Thank
It's
you,
a road
Crispy.
game.
I only play that on the road while I'm driving.
It's like when a network decides to push a series back to like mid-season. That's
Exactly.
what Nick does with video games.
Hey man, video games are hard. Just figuring out what to spend your time on. It's hard.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we have some news topics, but I think most of those news topics came up in the questions and whatnot from our supporters on Patreon and Twitch. So we'll kind of roll right into that. And unless I'm forgetting something, we'll do that and then wrap up with the 4-player minute. So if you're watching us live or listening at home, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this quick break. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the show. During the break, we were joined by a fifth person.
Oh.
David is here. Hello, David.
The roll call was not for the show. I thought that was the roll call was for the show to let everybody know who was on or something.
No.
I was like,
The
that
roll
was
call
pretty-
is
That would be
Purely
a pretty
for me.
unique way to open a podcast.
purely
Okay.
for me for post-production purposes. But David, now I'm literally introducing you for the show.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It kind of sucks. I like kind of popped my knee out of my to the side today.
Oh.
So now I can't squat down. I
That
I
doesn't
tore
sound
my
good.
I tore my knee in college like partially, and so it's
Yeah.
kind of loose a little bit. And then sometimes I'll like if I'm like bending, if I'm like tying my shoe, if I turn a certain way, the joint will kind of like come off to the side,
Oh god.
and then I have to. And as I extend my leg out, it'll go boop, and just pop back in again. And usually it's not a big deal, but for some reason today it's super sore, like to where I
feel
can't
like-
I can't squat down and because it's in too much pain.
I feel like maybe you should be seeing it. Maybe you should be in a like an urgent care right now instead
No,
of on,
it's
on
fine.
the podcast.
I mean, we'll see what happens tomorrow when I wake up. Yeah.
Well, I hope it turns out well. But David, since you've been on the show last,
I can't even
played
remember
some stuff.
when I was on the show.
I mean it's been because
I played
E3
a
happened
l-
and
I've
So, yeah.
literally played a lot of stuff. I actually played a new game every day for the month of June. So every day I played a game that I hadn't played before.
Wow.
I started it up.
wow.
Yeah.
So you started like 30 games and haven't finished any of them? No.
It's probably like 34, but yeah. I mean, don't
Damn.
even talk about finishing them. I haven't even I've only gotten like an hour or so into each.
Well,
But
which
you
one
put at least
stood out the
17
most?
minutes into each game, right?
17? No, probably about 50.
Okay, all right.
it's
Just
just
want to
like
make
an hour and a
certain.
half.
He's
just
not
wanna make
that
certain-
embarrassing, Chris Davis.
I
So-
beat Sumire. I beat Sumire, the game that Brad told me to
yeah.
try out.
Oh yeah, that game where I was like, "Hey, have you heard of this game?" And you're like, "Just bought it."
Yeah.
Like after
I said I
after
looked
you
up
got
Zero-
the text.
Zero Skies in chat says David is doing a gaming buffet.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
David,
I used to run a website called Idle Buffet. Not kidding.
That's very different.
I don't even want to know what that's
Content.
about.
I didn't know David used. You know what? I'm not going to make that joke. David, of the 30 games or 30 plus games that you've started, so we are in the second segment, so we kind of moved past impressions. But I want to know, what's the most interesting game? Is there a game of those 30 plus games that you think you're going to stick with and finish?
Well, no, I want to finish them all. I played Neo Worlds Ends with You. That's probably the most interesting thing for you guys to talk about, right?
Oh,
That's out?
I played that demo too.
Oh, the
Yeah,
demo,
have you talked
okay.
about it yet?
I have not
No.
talked about it because
Yeah.
I had too much to talk
Have you
about.
ever played Watam?
I have
I've
not.
heard of it.
Dude.
That's where the guy did Nobi Nobi Boy, right?
Yeah,
Well, Katamari Damacy, but yeah,
yeah.
before Nobi Nobi Boy. But that's dude.
Yeah,
I
That
was kind
game
of waiting
is
for a good sell on that one.
that game.
honestly.
Yeah, it was like $6 last week or 2 weeks ago. But that game is probably the weirdest game. It's weird
Since
because
Nobi Boy.
since Nobi Nobi Boy. Katamari Damacy, at least it's weird, but it has kind of like a purpose. It's like, oh, let me roll around and pick everybody up. And Nobi Boy is too short, so you just like kind of Nobi Boy, and you're just eating things, and you're like, okay, great, whatever. It's kind of like a demo tech demo.
Yeah.
But I think, as far as I know, Watam has
Tom.
it has the purpose. You're supposed to be doing it, but you have no clue what the fuck. It's just like random. It's like you get put on there. It's like, okay, now create like you see like a flower seed on the floor. It's like, oh, you walk up to it, start crying, and you're like tears fall on it, and then a flower sprouts out, and then you pull it out and it becomes a dude, and a dude has a hat, and it's like, oh, explode yourself, and more friends will come out. You explode yourself, all these people start coming out of the ground.
That sounds
game to have
exactly.
footage of.
Huh?
That sounds exactly what I like. You start talking about it's from the creator of Nobi Nobi
No,
Boy, and all of
but
this makes sense.
But that's not even the weird. No, that's not even the weirdest part. It's like, okay, now you got like 5 people, and like a tall guy shows up, and you're like, oh, try to match heights with the guy, and so like you climbing on top of each other, so you can match heights. Like, yeah, and then the next one, like some mouth guy comes out, and he's like, oh, eat all your friends, and then you eat the guys, and then he poops them out his ass, and they all become gold colored. It's like, oh, get like, I forget what it was, like get 10 gold friends, and you're like, okay, you just go eat everybody's and poop, like literally go, and you poop them out. Every single one of them, they become like a thing of turd shit.
Are we
Gold
sure this is a video
turd
game?
shit. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's the weirdest thing. And then like you get a bunch of friends, and then all of a sudden like the sun comes flying out of the sky, and he's like, hey, I'm the sun, and you're like, make friends with the sun, and you're like, how the hell do I get up there?
Me.
Yeah, it's like, how do you get up there? And then like this balloon flies over, and you just grab the balloon, and you start like pressing a button, and you start floating up to the sun.
Yeah, I feel like there's people in chat who are hearing this description and they're like, "This sounds insane," but those people
No.
sounds like they've never played Nobi Nobi Boy.
No, I mean,
which is
seriously.
equally as weird.
No, but it's weird. But there's not like a purpose, right? You just walking around like goofing around, stupid stuff happens.
I mean, that's what. Yeah, it's like what every. I feel like the only game this guy has ever done that seemingly had a real purpose was Katamari Damacy.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose is, I mean, like, it's kind of like very focused, right? It's like, see what you can roll up next. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
like that has
And
a
then-
goal. It has a central mechanic to it. The other games that they've done don't seemingly.
There's kind
have
of like
that.
a progression that kind of makes sense, I guess. But in this game, man, I don't know, dude.
And that's one of the games you played in this
In
month.
in the 30. I also played a series of visual novels by this one Japanese developer. So like the first game is called Nin Nin Days, and it's like it's this ninja that gets teleported into you're walking home and you find a ninja passed out, and you're like, oh, hey,
As
let
one
me take
does.
let me take you to my house and take care of you. And she's like, oh, I'm a ninja, but I don't know where my house is. And you're like, okay, well, you can stay with me till we figure it out. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he also this guy released another visual novel called Trouble Days. And Trouble Days is the one where the succubus comes and sneaks into your room, tries to have sex with you, because she's trying to suck your life force out or something. I think that's the exact terminology.
As succubuses do.
That's what they call it.
Yeah. So then, but you're like, oh no, wait, you can't do that. And then so she's like, okay, well, it was nice to meet you. I'll leave you alone now. And you're like, okay, so bye. And she leaves, and you go to sleep. And you wake up and she's trying to have sex with you again.
Wait a
she's
minute,
jealous
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Is this series on the eShop?
of Nintendo, yeah.
And
It's a Nintendo
does this
eShop game.
series have
Nintendo
very
put that.
It's well, these are all
pervy,
yeah.
pervy thumbnails?
Yeah, it's not super pervy, I don't think.
No.
But there's a bunch of weird ones, yeah.
That
But yeah,
sounds pretty pervy.
It feels like that's a given.
Trouble Days.
Wild looking shit on the eShop.
Yeah, but this is Trouble Days, and then and then I'm like, okay, she's like, I guess I can stay with. Can I stay with you until I figure it out? I'm like, all right.
Was
I
that
guess.
Sumire game good?
Yeah, it's
Sumire?
pretty good. It's like a walking around adventure game where you kind of talk to people. But the whole point. Let me finish the days. There's also another like Kuro Days or something like that, and like that one's where like this medieval knight comes and lives with you because she like gets teleported like through. So transmogrical circle. What is it called? Those. Yeah, it's Chris Davis. You're into like Full Metal, right? Transmorphigation. What is it called?
I feel like this is a Chris
Mutation.
Transmutation.
Transmutation, yeah.
Or whatever. But she shows up and then she ends up like, oh, I was in the middle of fighting a war. I got to get back and help my side win. And like she's like, can I stay with you until I figure it out? I'm like, all right.
So this
No
whole
problem.
series is about women staying with you.
Okay. There's another one I didn't buy yet. It's called Idle Days. It's the one where the idol is your childhood friend, and I'm not sure if she stays with you or not. But
I feel like
love
that's your first purchase.
well,
I love the idea
that one
that
just came out this like last month at the end of the month. So
I love the idea that this whole series is based around just women in different roles deciding to stay with you.
I think it really
Crash on the
caters
couch,
to
but
those
then-
men.
But then they sneak into your bed in the middle of the night going, the couch is too lumpy. Or no. It's what it is you let them have the bed and you're like, I'll sleep on the couch.
See, that's what
they're like,
happens.
Come on,
in
the
all of
couch
them.
is so uncomfortable. Just come sleep with me in the bed.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens in one of them. Is you're sleeping on the floor. But she doesn't
All right.
invite you.
Okay, I know I asked the question and I should have known, but like I should have known that's what was gonna happen. That was the answer I was gonna get. All right, interesting. Okay, we have a lot of viewer questions to get to tonight. Questions
Neil
first.
Anders was with you seems pretty cool.
God.
I'll just say that. Seems pretty cool. It's different from the DS one.
That one, to be fair, Nick, that is like a pretty significant game, and it is coming out next month. And
This
like
month.
Monster Hunter Stories 2, your save data carries over. Like The World Ends With You
Oh.
is like a cult classic as far as I'm concerned. Like people
Yeah.
who played that game like really love that fucking
Wait,
game.
at some point did we switch and start talking about that game? I knew we were. You mentioned it, but
It's called Neo: The World Ends With You, but it's basically just the second The World Ends With You game, and
It's
it
a
comes
stupid name, dude.
It's a bad
stupid
name, but it's a Square Enix game, so of course it's a bad name.
You shouldn't just.
But
The
it's
World Ends
very
Again or
like if you like the look and the music of like The World Ends With You, this seems like
Oh,
same
the
kinda
music's
shit.
terrible. I hate the music.
But
hate this-
I
this
like how terrible it is.
Japanese rap.
I love Japanese rap, damn
No,
it.
you don't.
Xenoblade X, dude, had the best battle music.
God.
okay.
This is the beginning, right?
Yeah.
right?
No.
That shit
Oh
was
my
tight.
god. God damn it.
I never
I
beat
had-
that game. I never beat that game because
I
of
never
that.
got past like the first 6 hours of Blue Dragon because I could not take the battle music.
Do you
It
want me to
was
spoil
so
some shit
goddamn bad.
from Xenoblade Chronicles X? Can I spoil something real quick?
No, I don't want to spoil.
Ah, fuck, come on.
Here, I'll take my headphones out.
There's this story part in the game where like your main character like jumps in front of a blast to like save someone, and then like her like whole fucking arm like blew off, and she's a fucking robot. That's all I'll say. It goes crazier from there.
All right.
Everybody's robots.
Wait,
All right,
really?
you
Is
can
that
You can put him back in, Dave.
I like how
It's funny watching Brad. Go back and watch that sequence with Brad without his audio, and he's. It's pretty funny, dude.
yeah, I love how Brad was like he said he spoiled something and was like, that's all I'm gonna tell you, and then he paused and then he spoiled everything. And he just like, it's like, oh, and here's the rest of it. What a fucking asshole. Okay, let's get into questions this week from our lovely supporters on Patreon and Twitch. Again, if you guys support us on either of those platforms, whether you're a Twitch subscriber or you pledge to our Patreon at $1 or more, you can ask us any question you want. You can also submit news topics if you want to hear us talk about anything in particular. I know I like to start with news topics because there's been a few of them this week that I think are worth bringing up. So I'll start with this one, and this comes from Henry from Birmingham, Alabama.
Hi, Henry.
Hi, Henry.
He says, Yuji Naka, creator director of Sonic the
Oh, here
Hedgehog.
we go. I'm the perfect person to talk about this.
I know. Night into Dreams, Billy Hatcher, and several others recently announced his departure from Square Enix and his plans to retire after the release of his newest game, Balan Wonderworld. Failed to meet critical and commercial.
Masterpiece. His new say it right. Say it right. His newest masterpiece.
Sorry, his newest masterpiece, Balan Wonderworld, failed to meet critical and commercial expectations. Selling just around 2,000 copies its opening week in Japan. Holy shit.
Really?
Was Balan Wonderworld bad enough? Okay, this is a loaded question, David, so try and hold back until I've finished it. But was Balan Wonderworld bad enough that it should end such a long-running career in the industry? What was Square Enix thinking when greenlighting this project? And is Yuji Naka possibly the George Lucas of video games?
Well, first
That's a
of
good
all,
question.
as far as them greenlighting it, I will say that like when I first saw a trailer of Balan Wonderworld, I thought it looked kind of cool. Like I was like,
I
oh,
did
this
too.
is a bright, colorful platformer. You know, these are kind of coming back, right?
Right.
Right.
And you know, I mean, I didn't like how it played or whatever, but you know, I don't blame Square Enix for greenlighting a game that I guess didn't turn out the way people were expecting. Because I think
Well,
at a glance, it looks.
it's not a big budget game, right? I can't imagine there being a lot of money and dollars behind it.
No,
Probably not.
they
yeah.
knew they were selling it to Sonic fans.
Oh, really? Is that what it is?
Yeah, dude.
I mean,
I
the
mean,
thing
it's,
is,
and
there
at
was-
some point,
There was fucking crazy fan art for this game long before it ever even came out.
well, the thing is, I think there's some people who are really like, I don't want to say happy. Maybe happy is not the right word, but they're like, hey, yeah, the game sucks. Yeah,
or reveling in its failure.
No, yeah, sure, but I don't know. Like, I wish they would understand, like, why? Why do you want to? It's like, why do you want to like laugh at your ex's misfortune or something like that? Why do you want to be that kind of person? Well, I'm just saying, like, that's kind of how I feel. It's like you broke up with somebody, and then like you see them having a tough time. You're like, look at that loser Yuji Naka, can't make a good game to save his life. Now he's retiring. I
think that's just common internet culture today, and that's part of the reason why it sucks.
Because the thing is, we all have that game that, man, we played it and we're like, dang, dude. I mean, I know this is not a perfect game. I know it's not great, but geez, if there aren't a couple of cool ideas in this game that if they were able to like give it another shot, or maybe they learned something from the first time through, make a sequel, like,
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not saying Terminator. I'm not saying Terminator 1 to Terminator 2, but like there's some movies, some I don't know, movies or games that like, like
Dark
if you
Cloud
give
1
them
to
another
Dark
shot.
Cloud 2.
Oh my god, that's probably good. I mean, but I think Dark Cloud 1 was still a good game in its own right. Just not, but the jump to 2 was pretty significant. But yeah, I mean, I
liked Mighty Number 9. Somebody said Mighty Number 9. I actually liked it a lot. I thought it was a really great Mega Man game.
I feel like there was a lot of people talking shit about Balan Wonderworld when that game came out.
Sure.
I feel like I didn't see a lot of people talking shit about the Yuji Naka news.
Well, the thing is, it's pretty bad because of the Rodea Sky Soldiers. Like that was previously, and that kind of set it up for this one. Is like the thing. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but we got to get back to answering the question, right? But
probably yeah. But go ahead.
The thing people don't know about Rodea the Sky Soldier, everyone's like, oh, that game sucks. Look how bad it's reviewed. The Wii U, it comes out to Wii U. Like, y'all remember that game was packaged with the original Wii game, right?
It's probably the weirdest packaging I've ever seen.
Okay, so when you bought Rodea the Sky Soldier on the Wii U, it came with the original game on Wii. And there was
like a Wii disc right in the box.
Yes, and if you turn it over, you flip the cover, it's the original Wii cover art. And the reason for that is because Yuji Naka made Rodea is actually he made Rodea for the original Wii. It was toward the end of the life cycle, and they're like, and whatever publisher, Katakawa Games or whatever, they were like, oh, okay, well, should we release this game? It's the end of the Wii cycle. Or should we just hold out and wait till the Wii U comes out? We'll release it on the Wii U, and we'll get more sales because, you know, the Wii U is
New hardware.
yeah, new hardware. What's the there's no point to.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is that his game was created, it was finished, it played with the remote pointer, and then in order to get it on the Wii U, they were like, well, we got to add the tablet functionality, we got to do this, do that. They completely changed the game. Like in the Wii version, you can just sit there and fly infinitely. You just like all you have to do is like point at something, and if you can point at it, you can fly to it, and yet you just constantly fly. But you can't do that with a gamepad. You can't do that with the controller because you don't have the movement of the Wii remote. So they ended up like adding a flight gauge and like changing the stuff. They added like power ups to the thing. They like completely changed the game.
From what I understand, the Wii U version of the game like sucked.
No,
so
it's
they just threw in the Wii version of the game also.
Well, I think
which was the one that was better.
Yeah, and I think the Wii U version is
insane.
actually. I think the Wii U version is like a port of the 3DS version because they had put because if you look at the Wii U version, it looks really bad. Like, and it like doesn't even run smoothly.
That's weird.
It's really, really bad. And you know what's the worst
question? Though?
And you know what's the worst thing about that situation is that when it came out, they had to show it at shows, right, for the Wii U. And they were like, "Hey, we're putting out this game created by Yuji Naka. Hey, Yuji Naka, you gotta go come pimp out your game. So come to the show." So like he goes to I'm pretty sure there's pictures of him standing at like trade shows, and here's the Wii U version, which I didn't make or have anything to do with, and here's the original Wii version, which is the one I worked on, which is the original way how you're supposed to play it, and he's just gotta stand there and like
Great.
please play the Wii version because that's the good version.
Yeah, the other one's an abomination.
Yeah, and then people like attribute it to him because his name's on it. It was his original idea.
So the original question about Yuji Naka, I guess, when you get right down to it, the serious question is: was the perceived failure of Balan Wonderworld worth ending an entire career? And I mean, I think that's kind of a loaded question. I think obviously the answer to that question is no.
I mean, it's not like he was thriving for the past 20 years anyway.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get like the opportunity. In Japan, it's really weird about the culture. Is like you kind of get like once you get how do you say it? Like dirty? Like once like ooh, that's a dirty like that happened with Gunpei Yokoi, right? He's like Game Boy creator, did all this stuff, and then he put out the Virtual Boy, big failure, and everyone's like, let's just relegate him to some corner wing, and he's still a name, and we can get him to come out and do these like publicity things, but we don't really let him do anything.
It happened to Igarashi in the Lords of Shadow era, and where they just shoved him in a closet at Konami.
Yuji Naka has been making games since the mid '80s, so like a 30-year career, like that's something to be proud of.
That's nothing to scoff at.
No, but
sure.
I think also has to do with like times changing. Like I don't know if you guys know, if you guys watch other like streamers, but like even from like when we streamed to now, like when I go look at streamers now, like I'm like, dude, that's totally different. Like what we used to call it broadcasting, right? Hey, this is where I'm gonna go broadcast. Like people don't say like sometimes I'll say broadcast, and they're like, broadcast? What does that mean?
And we used to call it the feed.
The feed, right? No, exactly. And I'm telling you right now, like.
We invented this shit. We get to make our own names.
So much stuff has changed, like we used to have to deal with different like equipment. Remember we used that Adobe whatever program was called,
Media Encoder,
and it get fucked, and we would have to like stop it just to change like systems or something like that.
Remember when capture cards were rare and expensive?
Yeah, FireWire cables.
No, I mean, it's just all that stuff, and it's like. I don't know if you guys know, but if you go like whenever I pop into these, I get recommended these random streams sometimes, and like it's not even about like playing new games or anything. It's all about like acknowledging your viewers. Like they spend so much time. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, hey, thanks for showing up for chat. Oh, and reading like just basically read. Remember, because when we played games and people were like, "Hey, Brad, hey, Brad, hey, Brad, acknowledge me, acknowledge me, acknowledge me." You're like, shut up, dude. I'm trying to play a game. But now, like, that's basically what streaming is. It's like
Because they're giving them money.
It's just
a different world.
It's just like the game is almost like a byproduct. It's like, look, just acknowledge. I see this guy pop up all the time. He's like driving a virtual bus. I don't know what game it is, but he has a steering wheel set up. He's got a virtual bus driving down the road, and he's like playing music in the background, like it's a radio. And he's just basically
Euro trucker. Or
he's
whatever.
he's just driving and reading chat the whole time. And I'm just like, people show up to watch him do this? Like, God, I mean, I watched him. I mean, I was like absolutely like stunned. I was just like, I can't look away. But also I was like,
oh man, I got drawn into ones of like people playing flight simulators, like as an air traffic controller, like just up in the tower, like role playing an air traffic control. It's hypnotic. It's like, wow,
actually kind of
so
These people are so much more talented than I am. Okay.
No, but I mean, like, going back to Yuji Naka, I'm just saying, like, if you think about when he started making games to what they are now, like, imagine, like,
totally
they're
different
like,
area.
They're like, hey, we want you to make this game that can make us a lot of money, maybe free to play or with loot boxes, and he's like, what? Like, I don't know, you know? He doesn't like. Maybe he can't. Maybe he just can't make games in this generation. Maybe Balan. I think maybe GameCube time that probably would have been totally acceptable, dude.
Well, I mean, was Billy Hatcher acceptable?
I actually started that game up and tried to play it recently.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, let's move on.
No, but they said something specifically about Yuji Naka is like, what, should he retire or what?
No, I mean the question was it? I mean his career is essentially over, and
is it?
I mean it seems that way.
I think he needs to redefine himself. Just don't put his name on it. Just come out as a new guy. Like
We'll have to wait and see what happens. Next question. One Mr. Boy.
I'm Keiji Nakyu, and then he just makes new games. Everyone's like, oh, this Keiji Nakyu is amazing. His games are great.
And it's just Balan Wonderworld 2. One Mr. Boy asks, I still feel bad over Nick's E3 Zelda disappointment.
Yeah. I was gonna. I wanted to strangle you, Nick, when you were
Hold on. I still feel bad over Nick's Zelda E3 Zelda disappointment. So I thought I'd use this question to open the floor on the recent announced partnership between Konami and Bloober Team, with sources at Bloober all but confirming that they are working on Silent Hill.
Oh.
What would you rather see? A new game, a ground-up remake of a prior Silent Hill, not just a shitty HD collection, but something more in the vein of Resident Evil, etc., etc. So this specifically is what I wanted to talk about because that is a big news topic this week.
Somebody explain to me Bloober Team because that sounds familiar, but I can't.
Bloober Team did Layers of Fear, Blair Witch, Observer. They've kind of become known as this like I don't want to use the term
medium.
B tier, but like the medium is the most recent project.
Oh really?
They've become cool. Known as this like
cool,
not non AAA, but like
double A,
what you want to call it, double A horror studio that has done kind of a wide swath of things. Like a lot of their games are very different, but there's been rumors circulating a lot lately that they've been maybe partnering with Konami and might be one of the teams to spearhead a new Silent Hill game, one of several rumored Silent Hill games that they're working on.
Yeah.
That Konami is actually working on.
But it sounds like from this news that it's like very early, like they're just signing the paperwork.
Maybe. I mean, this is as of right now. This is all rumored and conjecture at this point. But well, actually, no. I mean, the
they
news
just
this
finished
week.
The Medium.
Yeah, they just finished the Medium, and it sounds like they're finally inking the deal that has been rumored and that's been in kind of swirling for quite a while now.
Was there some kind of controversy around that game?
Around the Medium?
Yeah,
I think it was very hyped, and I think the scores and stuff were pretty underwhelming.
Well, no, I mean, I think Crispy is specifically referring to like a social controversy, right? Like some kind of like subject matter.
I don't know.
Wasn't like every game.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
I don't remember what it was because I saw people making jokes about the new Silent Hill game, and I can't remember the context of what it was. I think it had something to do with like trigger warnings or something.
Oh. Yeah. God.
Oh,
I feel like there was an epilepsy thing, but that's
epilepsy thing. I think it was that. Was it that game?
And then that was Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk specifically
Oh.
had the. You know what?
Let's make one up right now. What was it?
The point is,
I want to hear.
it looks like Bloober is finally is pretty much inking a deal with Konami, and they haven't announced that they're working on Silent Hill, but it's looking more and more like they're going to be doing Silent Hill. And the reaction to this seems pretty split. I mean, I am of the opinion, because I love Silent Hill. It's one of my favorite franchises. It's been gone for so long, and I like Bloober as a team. I like the games that they make. I like the risks that they take, even if they don't always end up being like my favorite games of the year or whatever. Like, the medium didn't really do it for me, mostly because I didn't think the mechanic was all that fun or engaging, I guess, or maybe used to its potential. But the things that they nailed, I think, in the medium are the things that I think are very important in a Silent Hill game. Silent Hill has never been about mechanics. Like, playing a Silent Hill game, I mean, I'm serious, playing a Silent Hill game,
That reminds me of when I beat Silent Hill 3.
beating monsters to death in Silent Hill is not fun. It's not
Oh, it can be kind of fun.
particularly.
Dude.
It's not.
I mean,
fun.
it can,
When they
but it's not.
"Ugh."
It's not particularly satifying. Like, it's
But
never
it
been
is
known
there,
for
and
its.
Pretty satisfying.
it is in every Silent Hill game. Well, I
Right.
guess not one of them.
But you're missing my point. The point I'm trying to make is that the stuff that Bloober excels at, that they've excelled at in Observer, Layers of Fear, Blair Witch, and the Medium, was creating a really great atmosphere and unique atmosphere. Like, I can't think of another studio that's like, I loved Blair Witch. It was in my top 10, but and a lot of that had to do with the way, like, it played on a fear that I don't think is commonly played on in games, which is the fear of being, like, disoriented and lost. And it did that in some really creative and unique ways, and it had a really great vibe to it, and it was super dark. Like, it used contrast very well. Like, it was pitch black a lot of times in that game, which made it even more disorienting, and that was really cool. The Medium very much captures, like, the Silent Hill vibe, especially because they use Akira Yamaoka for the music in that game, who does all the music for Silent Hill. So when you weren't using, like, the main mechanic, which is the whole, like, split the screen and kind of move between two dimensions, or do the same thing in, like, two different dimensions, sounds cool on paper, wasn't particularly, I think, interesting, but, like, at least the way it was executed, I guess. But, like, everything around it, all of the window dressing of the Medium was spot on, and the music was excellent, and that's the kind of stuff that I come to Silent Hill for. So if you're going to look to a team outside of Japan to make a Silent Hill game, like kind of a Western Silent Hill game, of which there's been a few, I think they're a great choice.
So are you saying that Silent Hill is going to have bad gameplay yet again?
But here's, I don't think Silent Hill has bad gameplay. I think it has bad combat, and you don't do a lot of it. I avoid combat at all costs in that game.
Really?
But the active, to me, the what I play Silent Hill for, what I love about Silent Hill is the exploration and never knowing what's going to be behind the next door. And I love all the weird, wacky, crazy, nonsensical puzzles. I think it adds to the creepiness of the whole thing. And to me, it's one of the series where I think story is very, very important. I think it's more important than how good it feels to beat a monster to death with a fucking 2x4. And those are the things that, so far, Bloober has demonstrated they do rather well. So,
Weird.
I say bring it on. I can't guarantee it's gonna be a great product. I mean, they haven't had a lot of luck doing these Western Silent Hill games. I mean, critically speaking, I love Downpour, but, you know, I'm kind of alone in that camp. So I don't know what's gonna happen, but, you know, I think maybe Bloober is, like, makes the most sense out of all the studios they've chosen to make a Silent Hill game.
When is the name going to change, though? Let's be real.
Yeah. How many times have you said
They're
Bloober?
called Bloober Team. I mean, look at the games they make. Dark, gritty horror games, and they're called Bloober.
I mean, it's easy to remember.
What happens when they become Team Silent?
Well,
Well,
there's a rumor that the rumor is that there's two Silent Hill games in development. One of them's Japanese developed.
And
What
one of
if
them's
this
Western.
game has no combat at all? Because there's no combat in any of Bloober Team's games, right?
You're right. I mean, this could be the closest thing we get to a Shattered Memories type game, where it is all story and exploration and no traditional combat, and I would be okay with that. I think Shattered
Already
Memories is an
falling
excellent.
asleep.
I think Shattered Memories is an excellent video game, and I know Brad, you disagree with that, but
I think Shattered Memories is okay, but I don't really love any of the Silent Hill games. So
and I love all of them. Okay, not all of them, most of them. So I don't know. All right, let's get to some
You're
other.
talking about your disappointment in Nintendo.
Me?
I'm just saying. They're probably going to announce the Zelda stuff later, dude. Like I don't know if anybody's told you.
But I've been thinking that they were going to announce this thing for 2 years, and it didn't happen.
No, I understand, but why would you like? You got Skyward Sword coming out in less than 2 weeks, right?
Why is that not?
This is
why
what
is
I wanted
Ocarina
to
of
tell
Time
you.
on Switch not a bigger priority than Skyward fucking Sword?
Because who the fuck is going to buy Skyward Sword if they know Ocarina of Time's coming out in 2 months? That's why you.
Why are they even bothering putting I mean, I will play Skyward Sword again. Whatever.
People will buy it.
People
Everyone
will buy
like
it.
this is what happens. When they drop the price of anything, when they're going to drop the price of like the Nintendo 3DS, they didn't tell everybody there was a new DS coming out. They're like, "Oh, hey, by the way, we dropped the 3DS price." And then I went out and bought one, and then like a week later they're like, "Oh, by the way, there's a 3DS redesign coming out in 6 months." And you're like, "Fuck."
I guess my point I'm trying to make is I don't think they should even be spending time trying to port Skyward Sword to Switch until they've put fucking Ocarina of Time, all those classics on the Switch, dude. Why can't I play?
It's the Zelda 20th anniversary or whatever, right? 30th
what the
anniversary.
Fuck are you doing putting Skyward Sword then? Why?
Okay. When did they announced all the Mario stuff, right? Remember what happened last year? Late in the year, August, September, they're like, "Hey, it's the Mario 30th anniversary. We're going to put out this special thing and this special limited time game. Oh, here's the triple pack, and it's only going to be sold between this month and February. Pick it up during the holidays, or else you'll never be able to pick it up again."
Okay,
that's what they're doing.
You're right.
In 3 months from now, you're going to be like, "Oh shit, I got to pick up this Zelda game before they don't put it out."
And I will, and you're probably right. I think only people are focusing on my disappointment from that moment because I was literally still experiencing the flows of just the waves of disappointment as they were literally showing Breath of the Wild 2, and I had no right being upset. But I was. Anyways, let's move on. We got some more questions.
Replay that 64 game.
We're gonna take a.
I do want the 3DS ones, the 3DS ones playable in a different form than 3DS, right?
Me
like
too.
I didn't go back and play either of those, but I would like to if they were on the Switch.
Everyone still has their fucking 3DS.
I understand.
Just play it.
Hey guys,
I don't play
questions.
It in bed or at work on my lunch break, dude.
Guys,
are you playing a Switch game right now?
Guys, you fucking pieces of shit.
No, I'm sorry.
Chris Davis asked me a question.
Yeah,
I know.
David, did you load up your Switch? Because I swear to God, I heard one turn on.
No, my Switch is right.
Guys.
Okay.
We've gotten through 2 questions.
There.
We're gonna take we're gonna take a left turn here. We have a question from Umos. He says there is a bowl of 300 Skittles. You get $25,000 for every Skittle you eat.
One of the per Skittle?
Per Skittle. One of the Skittles is laced with a deadly poison. How many do you eat, if any?
Oh, so you're for certain gonna die, or you're just
if you pick the one Skittle that's poison, you die.
But I already know which one is poison. It's the sour apple one.
That's because he's eating those crazy
that are anti-sour apple.
I know, but that's because you're eating those crazy ass Caribbean fucking Skittles, dude. Why don't you eat the normal ones like everybody else?
The green Skittle used to be lime, and then they just switched it to sour apple.
Is it really?
Do you think that's like a marginalized position?
But only a fat ass like you would know that.
Look, listen,
because I didn't really give a shit about Skittles.
That is such a fucking thing.
Did you know they changed from lime to green apple, and then it actually
listen to me. There is a end of this
fucking
story.
Candy whore.
There's an end of this story. Skittles recently released a package of all lime Skittles for the people who were so mad about the sour apple Skittle from years ago. It's been sour apple for a long time.
Is it
Y'all
really?
are really good at dodging actual questions.
All right, what's
tonight.
the question?
Yeah. What is the
Oh
question?
my god.
4.
What is wrong with you? How does Nolan do this every week?
Sum up the question.
There's
Well-
300 Skittles in a
Oh.
bowl. One of them's poison. How many do you
300.
eat?
No, why would I eat any of them?
What?
You get
'Cause you-
$25,000 per Skittle that you eat.
Oh, okay. I missed that. part.
$25,000. You just eat one. You at least eat one.
I
Yeah,
eat 4. I eat 4.
But what's gonna the trick is what's gonna stop you? Like that's the betters. Like everyone's like, oh, we on a roll.
Wait,
Let it roll.
How
And then
many
just-
Skittles? 100 Skittles? So if
There's
I eat
300.
all of them,
300.
300 Skittles.
if I eat all of them, how much money is that?
Dude, you
Well, you
Three-
can't. You die. If you eat all of them, you will die.
299 times.
No,
25,000.
but how much money is that?
eat all of them. How many Skittles is that?
How
300.
much money is that? Someone
That's
in chat tell me.
$7,475,000.
Okay, so I eat the whole bag and I give all the money to my family.
Stupid. That's stupid.
And then you die.
You don't think they'd rather have you? Ask Malia. Ask Malia if she'd rather have you or $7 million.
Eh, I mean, I'm getting up there.
What? Are you talking about like in
In what?
in age?
Yeah.
That's
300 Skittles. You could probably. I mean, you could. It depends, I guess, how lucky you feel you are, right?
Brad, your life insurance isn't going to cover you eating the death Skittle. So
I'd eat at least.
I get $7 million tax free, right?
Wait.
sure.
I have a question. Can anybody actually eat 300 Skittles like in one sitting?
I'm sure it's possible.
Yeah, it's
Just need
certainly.
a glass of water or something, right?
Like
Just a
a
glass
bag
of
of
water.
Skittles is probably like what, 50 Skittles?
No. Really?
I'd rather eat the poison
Maybe?
Skittle than the sour apple Skittle.
I think you could just. I think you could. I mean, you could eat. Come on, like, what's the chances of? You could eat probably 20. You could probably get away with like 20.
I guess David's a gambler. Let's move on to
No,
the next
I'm not a
question.
gambler. I'm a percentage person. I'm like a card counter, right?
You have
It's
a
like,
third
dude,
of a
what-
percent of
you
a
could eat-
chance of
you could
actually
eat
eating the death
30.
Skittle.
Yeah.
You could eat 30 of them, and that's only 10% chance.
That's high.
9 out of
That's
10,
the-
dude. I mean 1 out of 10, dude. You got to be super unlucky
You
for
get
that to happen.
30. 30 of
You know, I would probably eat one Skittle and it would be that fucking
You-
Skittle.
You got to
That's
at least
just
eat
who I
one,
am.
dude.
Nah,
You
I
got to
just
eat
get
one,
a-
I mean,
otherwise
you
you're
eat-
not living.
You eat 30 Skittles, you take that 1 in 10 odds, and you walk away with $750,000.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You know, I'd
I
do
played
it.
I played enough
worth it.
XCOM.
I
to
mean, what
know
are you
that
gonna do?
I
Keep
should-
living? Like, who cares?
You play enough XCOM, what?
if you're gonna have played enough XCOM to know not to take that chance.
I've played enough
Our next-
XCOM to know that too.
Our next question comes from Mr. Green Toast.
Oh man.
He
Did
says,
you hear about his pool that he set up at his house? He bought a above ground pool and he tried to set it up himself, and his land is slanted, and they already filled it up with water, and they have to drain it back out and try to resurface it. So he's been dealing with that.
No.
He's been
Is he gonna
dealing
be a
with
hot
that
tub
in the Texas summer sun for the last 2
sounds
weeks.
That
It's
sounds
pretty-
truly,
it's
especially
pretty-
when you know it's
pretty
the
fucking
Texas
hilarious.
summer, and you know that the reward for finishing the project is being able to get into the pool, but then you get to the end and you realize you have to undo it all. Do
I
it
hope this
again.
question is: did you hear about my new pool? That way we could.
No, no. The question is, with the release of the latest Ratchet and Clank game, adding an alternate. Guys, let me get to the question. Adding an alternate dimension gender version of Ratchet with Rivet. I was curious what other video game protagonists you'd like to see as the opposite gender.
Oh,
I guess like
all
what
of
characters.
Well, what's the point? What's the point? What's the significance of Rivet? Like, why is?
Just
I mean, it's
an alternate dimension.
It's
Okay.
an alternate dimension where
So
it's like
that's-
it's
where
Also,
Ratchet
there's
doesn't
a Lady
exist and
Clank
she-
as well.
Is
Yeah.
there a Lady Clank? What's her name? Thud.
okay. How did this question come up 2 weeks in a row? And both times I'm like, do I want to spoil that because it's like a big part of the story? His name.
You
her,
beat it.
Her name. Yeah, I beat it. Her name is Kit.
Who's?
Rivet and Kit.
What's wrong with what was Kit is spoiling it? Or what?
Because they make a big. It's a big part of the story in the game is like coming
just
up with a
spoiled it?
name. I give up. Are y'all gonna answer the
I can
question?
kick him out of the call.
What?
the lady version of
Every character, every male
I
character
want the
ever made.
lady version of Dante because then they wouldn't let her be playable.
Okay, that's on point. I mean,
That's
everyone
pretty
wants to play as Zelda right now.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Wait,
That's
so you want a male
that's one thing
version
we
of
didn't talk
Zelda?
about. That's one thing we didn't talk about after watching that trailer. So a lot of people thought that maybe you'd play as Zelda in Breath of the Wild 2 after the first teaser, and then
Mhm.
this pretty much just confirms that it's just
So
Link
no.
again, which
Yeah.
is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it is. But hey, um,
Give us Lady Solid Snake.
I mean, I think we're all gonna say just
What? Why is really?
What's wrong with that?
I mean, that's
Lady
nothing's wrong
Solid
with it.
Snake is the boss.
No, but that's
That is
That's
true.
not wrong, and that's still not a bad idea.
yeah. Okay, so you think that's you see it as opposite as like that? It's like because there's the boss is a different character, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like it's saying it's a wasted answer because you practically already have that.
Yeah.
Oh,
what I mean?
I see. Okay,
Uh,
so yeah, Brad was making fun of
I
Chris Davis.
honestly kind of like Brad's answer minus the quip about playable thing. Like, I mean, that's kind of the appeal of like Bayonetta, right? Is like it's a
Yeah, I guess
it's
that
a
is kind of
Dante-esque character from the creator of Devil May Cry. You know,
the
I-
lady.
that's
it's
why
funny
there's so
how
much
y'all are
talk
all
about.
doing female versions of guys
Well,
Yeah.
y-
I don't know.
yeah.
because it's not worth making a guy version of a whatever female character.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. I don't know. I mean, I always make ladies in my games anyway, so.
Yeah,
I see
me
some
too.
suggestions in
What,
chat. I
I
see
wonder
some
what a
Lady
dude
Duke
version
Nukem.
of
Oh, that's the
Shepard
worst
would be like.
suggestion.
I wonder what a
No.
dude version of Shepard from Mass Effect would be like.
How dare you?
It's a little
You
mean.
played it as a dude, huh?
I did, and I regret
What
it.
kind of
I
a
mean,
Why?
version is that?
I mean, I
Why'd you
played
play
this. I played through Mass Effect as part of the collection recently, and played it as Femshep. So,
As did I.
Femship
all
was
right,
more compassionate.
just better. I think it's just all around better. I see. I do like Enemy Giant Crab's suggestion in chat, which is Lady Duke Nukem.
But
They
that's
did
like
that. A game
Did
called.
they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did that.
Oh, is that Bombshell? Is that what
yeah,
it's? Is that
Bombshell.
Bombshell? I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Shit,
but then
really?
but then they also
Yeah.
did what's it? The other 3D Realms game that came out a couple years ago that wasn't actually that bad.
Is that not Bombshell? That we're thinking
Ion
about?
Ion
Storm
something.
or some shit.
Or was that a lady?
Iron Fury?
Ion Fury, that was it. Yeah, and that
Next
wasn't
question.
bad.
That was on my list. I gotta play that game.
It's not bad
All
at
right,
all.
Then
We're gonna go ahead and call it quits there for questions because we took a while on that first one. So
I wanted one more.
we'll get to more next week, guys. This is why you got to be quick. We got to wrap up though. We got to get to the 4-player minute. So hype, sweat, thank you, or fuck you, or any combination thereof. Again, guys, if you have questions, we don't do these questions in order, so we bounce around a lot. So if you haven't heard your question come up yet, it will come up on a future show, and you can submit questions whenever you want. If you're a supporter on Patreon or Twitch, just go to the supporters channel in Discord. The link is pinned, and you can just submit your question whenever you want, and we'll get to it on a future show. So, like I said, 4-player minute. Brad, you usually start us off.
Yeah.
Go
I got
for
a
it.
couple hypes and some other things, like we do. My first hype, I guess it's kind of cool, is I don't think y'all talked about it last week, but the ratings board in a couple of countries spoiled the Castlevania Advance Collection, which I don't think anyone knows exactly what it is, but the assumption is that it is the three Castlevania games that came out for the Game Boy Advance, which is cool. I mean, one of those is Aria of Sorrow, and Aria of Sorrow is like one of the best. But Circle of the Moon, I like. Harmony of Dissonance, a little less so, but it's a good collection, and hopefully, and I think M2 is working on it, and they're really good at this sort of thing. So, and hopefully they do like the DS games as well. Maybe that would be cool, but because I think those are even better. But
yeah,
I mean,
Portrait
that's
of
kind of
Ruin, dude.
exciting. Any sort of Castlevania action these days is exciting, even if they're older games. My second hype is for Tales of Arise. I keep seeing footage of this game, and I finally saw some footage of Kisara in action. She's the lady paladin knight with the huge fucking tower shield. She looks so cool. The gameplay continues to look really fucking good in this game. I think it's going to be rad. I'm excited.
Sorry,
September,
which game was this?
Tales of
Tales of
Arise.
Arise.
Ah, right.
Yeah, continues to look good, even if it's still very, anime Tales of game. I like that stuff because they do a lot of good character building, and I really like the combat in those games. So I'm excited. My fuck you goes to all the people who are telling me, which maybe it was only a couple of trolls, but they're like, "There's one spot left in Smash Ultimate. You still have a chance. Could be Andy." Okay, it's not gonna be Andy. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. It's gonna be it'll be another Fire Emblem Sword user before it's anybody from Advance Wars.
Yeah, but
But
this is potentially your shot, right? This is what you wanted. You wanted a shot. This game comes out, sells
there's
well.
so many shots over so many entries of Smash Brothers. Okay,
No, but I'm saying this is your shot for there to be a Advance Wars amiibo one day, or
oh, you're talking
how
about
do
the
you?
remakes.
Yeah, like how do you?
Yeah, you don't want to hear my thoughts on that because I'm excited, but
I do want to hear your shot.
I'm not too optimistic about the success of that. Okay, that'll be my sweat for this week. I'm excited that Advance Wars is back. I'm worried that it's
Advance
not.
Wars
It's
never left, Brad. It never left.
2008, David. It was gone for a long time.
I'd say that qualifies as left.
When did Days of Ruin come out?
2008.
I was really. So
Yeah.
you're counting Days
And
of
it
Ruin
didn't
as
launch in
Advance Wars.
Japan either. So like Nintendo does not care about that series. But whatever. It's coming back. The thing is, it's $60, and I don't think it's gonna sell at $60. I really don't. It's bad enough that the fucking Advance Wars community fans are split. Like everyone's just fighting about the fucking art style. It's so annoying. It's like it finally came back, and all that's happening is people arguing with each other when everybody else is just probably gonna fucking ignore it. I wish it was like $40 or something, but at the same time, Advance Wars 1 and 2 are incredible games. And the fact that they're doing both of them in the same package is
That's like
cool.
$30 each, right? That's how much they were when they came out on GBA. They're
Yeah, and this set
redrawing
got a
everything.
new art style,
Yeah, they're
and
gonna
with
have some
online
sort of
play,
online stuff,
hopefully
right?
some of the higher profile Advance Wars fans on YouTube, like Mangs, he's been putting out all these videos of like things like, "Hey man, put this shit." I've been saying that stuff too, but no one's going to pay attention to me. But Way Forward probably will pay attention to him, and he's been saying like, "Dude, like take the asynchronous multiplayer mode from Wargroove. That shit's super good." And of course, he's talking about that they should do a lot of rebalancing and stuff, but I don't think they're going to really touch the balance of Advance Wars, probably because they're too afraid they might fuck it up. But especially the first game, the COs were so unbalanced. So I don't know. We'll
It's
see.
the
I'm
first game. I
excited.
thought it was Dual Strike that you said was really, really unbalanced.
Well, I guess, I mean, the first, well, whatever. They all have their overpowered characters, but either way, I'm excited. Pick it up. Advance Wars is good.
Does that cover your entire 4-player
That's it.
minute?
Yeah, that's it.
Crispy?
And I wanted a fucking amiibo.
No, Chris Davis?
I'll go. Okay. I want to steal some thunder from Nick this week with my hype, which is going to be for the heavily rumored Dead Space remake that's going on. I was kind of hoping for
Wait, the first one.
Yeah, so it looks like that EA Motive is going to announce at their play event on the 22nd a remake of Dead Space 1 that supposedly is in line with the design that was put into the Resident Evil 2 remake. I kind of wanted Dead Space 4. I know that people really bounced off of. Well, I wanted Dead Space 4 because I feel like Dead Space 3, as controversial as it was for its more action-oriented focus, it did set up one hell of a pitch for a sequel, and I want to see where that would go. But I'll take anything Dead Space right now. So
you're not stealing my thunder.
I'm hoping that when they say there's a emphasis on aping the Resident Evil 2 remake design, I'm hoping that means that they'll take ideas like the Regenerator, that constantly unkillable necromorph, and just making that a persistent enemy that you should encounter throughout the game, not just
No.
No, I think that's fine. I think that's a good idea. I like the idea of those enemies. So I'm hoping that's
it's only been pulled off. It's only been pulled off well, really, once so far. So, but I agree with you. That would be cool if they can pull it off well and not like Nemesis should have been done better, but they.
Oh yeah, well there's a whole thing about Resident Evil 3's
I just don't
remake
think I don't think the inclusion of that type of enemy is necessarily a guaranteed hit. Is all I'm saying. But
Go play Alien Isolation if you want that.
hell yes, go play Alien Isolation. That is
Heck
the ultimate. Everybody thinks about the Tyrant from or Mr. X from Resident Evil 2, but man, Alien Isolation did it first, and it was good.
Yes.
Well, do it first.
My sweat this week is maybe I'm taking Nick's thunder with this. Is the recently announced Project Condor from Remedy. It is going to be a 4-player multiplayer co-op game set in the Control universe.
Nick's thunder you're still in for sure.
What the heck that means, I don't know exactly. I'm hoping, because we know this is probably leading up to Alan Wake 2. So I'm hoping this like narratively bridges the gap between Control and that. The scenario I'm envisioning is that you play as a Bureau of Control agent and you're basically clearing out the rest of the old house and getting rid of the hiss, and then leading up to the events of AW2.
I don't even know how story focused. This thing sounds like it's going to be Left 4 Dead in the Control universe.
I don't even know how much could, but Remedy is is a strong story focused developer.
I think if anything, this is building a bridge between Control 1 and Control 2, because the other part of this deal that was brokered with 505 or whatever, 505, was that they're going to be working on another AAA entry in the Control franchise
that's separate from.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying I don't think Alan Wake 2 is necessarily the connection I'd be making here. I think this is just bridging the gap between Control 1 and Control 2.
I mean, that's fair.
That's neither here nor there.
But the best part of that announcement, though, Nick, is the fact that they say that the next game in the next Control game is going to be much bigger budget. And Remedy did a lot with a slim budget for Control. So I really want to see what they can do with even double the budget.
That'd be
great.
I knew Crispy.
I think they did.
Crispy not nearly enough.
Crispy turned hard on Control.
Yeah, my opinions about it changed after I played it. You're right.
Well, I enjoyed what they did. So, my thank you this week goes to Studio Kara. It's not gaming related, but they're the team from Hideki Anno that has been doing the rebuild films for the Evangelion series, and they finally announced that it's getting a worldwide release in August through Amazon. And I've been waiting for a conclusion to this film series for 10 years now, so I really want to see the end of this story. And and my sweat/fuck you this week goes to Sony with the Ghost of Tsushima director's cut that was announced today. I am looking forward to playing an expansion to Ghost of Tsushima and seeing what the new island is like. I'm going to do that day one. My fuck you about it is the pricing scheme that's going into this game. It's $30 to upgrade to the PS5 version from the PS4 version. And it looks like they're locking content directly behind the director's cut. So it looks like, I mean, this is unconfirmed this time, but it looks like they're locking the Japanese lip syncing behind the director's cut. It looks like they're locking some Legends content behind the director's cut.
Well, they did mention there's going to be patches also coming to the original version,
but there's a free,
which could include the lip sync.
Well, no, they've said what's in the patch, and the lip sync isn't part of it. Like what they're updating is like updates to some accessibility controls. One of the things that I think is almost confirmed about being locked out is the haptic triggers and the controlled triggers that you have at the PS5. It's only available in the director's cut, and how they
That's
use
'cause
that.
But that's the PS5 game.
Yeah,
But he's saying
it's only
he's saying
available
you
in the
have to pay
director's cut, and you can play the PS4 version backwards compatible through patch.
Yeah, but no backwards compatible PS4 games do adaptive trigger stuff.
Which is unfortunate. And the other thing is that it's going to be a $70 director's cut. That's
I'm not gonna lie, buddy. I already
kind of
doubled
bullshit.
this.
Honestly, kind of bullshit there.
It is bullshit.
$70 for a re-release with expanded content.
I mean, here's the thing: the game is actually still fairly new, and we don't know the scope of that expansion and all the other improvements they're making. You know, if you are a person who has not already played Ghost of Tsushima, it totally makes sense as a $70 product. And you don't have to pay the $70 if you don't want to. There is like you said, you can do $30 to upgrade, and there's a lot of stuff going into that upgrade.
Yeah, but if you didn't buy the game, until now, like you're forcing people to spend $70 when I don't know. I just don't. I think it's kind of.
I think most people are just going to pay $30 for the upgrade. Which is a more.
I mean, I'm just worried that they're going to repeat this with a bunch of re-releases going into the next year.
I'm sure they are.
Director's cut of Death Stranding is going to be like that. Certainly, they might do that with The Last of Us Part 2.
But it is up to them to justify that cost and give people other options. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
Crispy, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm fucking ready.
Do it.
How dare you ask me that? My hype this week is going to be for Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. As I said, I'm a couple hours into it. Or not Endwalker, Shadowbringers. Yeah, a couple hours into it, and it's really fucking cool so far. It really, just because of the nature of the story, it almost has a tighter kind of party dynamic than the last several expansions have had, which is really great. Really fun. Exploring this world with these characters. My other hype I'm going to give to Elden Ring, because like I was saying earlier when we were talking about it, at Shadowbringers, it's kind of giving me these vibes, like these melancholic kind of dark fallen fantasy vibes that you would get from like a From Software game, and Elden Ring looks like it is absolutely steeped in that kind of stuff. Love Dark Souls, love fucking Bloodborne, even Sekiro. It's like Sekiro wasn't really my thing, but I could see the quality there.
Yep.
Super excited for Elden Ring. My thank you for this week goes to everybody who voted in Carlos's poll saying that I had the best drip in 4Player. That was 41% of 29 people. That's like 12 people. That's a plurality of the votes. So
you had the best what of 4Player?
The best drip.
Nick, that's why you weren't on the poll.
Boomer.
I wasn't on the poll either. Crispy is wearing a bandana, so
yeah. You're gonna have to Google that, Nick.
Don't even ask, Nick. Don't ask.
Am I too old?
You're gonna out yourself as an old man.
Oh God,
you're an old man now.
All right, I will go to Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop at 3. I don't have a 4th because fuck you. How about that?
Sure, I'll allow it. David, are you ready?
Yeah, I am. Shall I go?
Yep.
Okay, my thank you goes to this week Modise, some dude I randomly met online who was selling his TMNT arcade cabinet for the 1UP arcade one. I had a chance to buy it back when it was $400 at Walmart, and it dropped to like $360, and I didn't buy it. And then now people are trying to sell it on eBay for like $600-700 plus like shipping, which is like $50 or $100. But then I just randomly found this guy online, and he was selling his, and he was like local pickup only, and he was in Sugarland, which is where I live. So we met up. I went to his house. He had like locked his kids in the other room so that they couldn't see the transaction that was going down. It's like, stay in your room. and then he helped me carry it out to my car, and I put it on my truck and on my SUV, and I drove off with it. So, like, I have it in my other room now. So it's pretty sweet, man. I've wanted one of those since I was a kid, man. Like when I was a kid going to the arcades in middle school. Like, man, if I ever got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade cabinet, that'd be awesome. And now I do.
That's pretty rad.
Yep. That's my thank you for this week. My hype. I just bought a copy of Cross Edge on the internet for like the guy wanted like $50 and I got him down to like 30 something. So
hey, why not?
So yeah, I'm gonna go play Cross Edge. I tried out Lost Dimension a couple weeks ago. So Cross Edge, try it out. It's a bunch of crazy characters all smushed into one. You got Darkstalkers and whatever Capcom group stuff. It's weird though. A lot of PS3 stuff doesn't have like Japanese language options back then. So, and also I got Omega Labyrinth Life. I bought the Switch copy, so I'm gonna go play that one too. So, check it out, Nick. I think maybe you might be interested in that game.
I'll add it to my list. My long, long list.
My sweat for this week. I picked up Disgaea 6, even though I knew it was a very, very not good idea. Because with me, I've been literally buying games, playing an hour of them, and then setting them aside. You can name any game that came out in the last month. I probably bought it, and then played an hour.
Astalon, Tears of the Earth.
Oh well, that one's not a game, but yeah,
that one doesn't count.
That would be on my list, except for other reasons. I don't pay full price for non-physical games immediately, but I have like Scarlet Nexus too sitting over there.
Damn, I heard that it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of So that's my sweat. My fuck you this week goes to Brad.
Wow.
Because fuck you, Brad. You didn't even know what this is from.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention. But
people listening at home
I do know what that's from. All I saw was BJ, or the top of the BJ.
Well, I guess my fuck you also goes to Redbubble because I made this shirt and I posted it on their website. It says Bleach Japan.
Well, and then Bleach Japan. Why are you wearing a Bleach Japan shirt?
Yeah, why are you repping the
Those
bad
guys are assholes.
And then they saw Bleach in the title and they banned my shirt for like over a month as I was waiting because they thought it had to do with Bleach, the anime. So I had to like wait a month for it to get like
what?
That's what I'm saying. It's a shirt that says Bleach Japan, and because it had Bleach and Japan in the title, they're like, whoa,
we can't do that.
Viz Media has the licensing to Bleach the anime, and that's Japanese, so we're copyrighted, and they wouldn't let me make a shirt. So I literally I had this design made back in like March or February, and I couldn't make the shirt to wear it. So
well, they finally got it to you. That's all that matters. All
and
right,
then,
before we move
Brad
on,
didn't even move. No, I have a shame. I have a shame.
Oh, a shame.
Okay. There's a game that came in today. Here, it got delivered to my house.
Oh, he hasn't even opened it yet.
Yeah, but
what if it's not? What if it's like not what you think it is?
I
and you're
don't know if you guys ever heard of this game.
DVD
It's called
about feet or something.
I didn't know what this game was. I've never seen it before. I mean, I've never played it before. I just saw it. It was like a weird, stupid title, and it said Slide Stars.
Slide Stars.
Do you know what this game's about? I thought it was just some
recently.
Stupid, I thought it was some stupid like those game shows where you're like climbing across things and get knocked off by like foam like penises or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what Slide Stars is? I didn't realize this till it shipped and came to my house.
What is it?
Some fucking developer made a game where they went on and found a bunch of like Instagram or Facebook or YouTube like stars, right? Like these internet celebrities, and they put them all into a game where they're like going down like water park rides or something. I don't know. I have no clue, but
Logan
Paul.
I don't know if Logan Paul's on here, but he's probably too recognizable.
Yeah.
There's a slide, jump, and balance with 20 international stars.
Wow,
I thought this was some stupid. I thought it was some stupid like game show.
But it's actually more stupid than that, and you're gonna play it, aren't you?
And so for some reason, I think this girl is actually somebody you can go on Instagram and look at her in pictures of in a bikini. But
what's her name?
I don't know. Cullen.
Find the name.
Never mind. Her shirt says Culture.
Real quick,
I don't
I
know,
just want to
dude.
say I
don't know
have
who these
discovered
people are.
what drip means. If anybody's curious, it's an adjective to describe your outfit similar to swag, sauce, and swank. I understand the poll now. I get it. I'm hip. I'm with it.
Your dark T-shirts with the skulls on them are not cool. Is that not considered cool anymore?
Not anymore. I'm I'm out of it. All
When
right.
was
My
the
four,
last concert you went to? Like, do you still go to shows?
I did
I
before
mean,
the
there's been a
pandemic.
pandemic.
I haven't gone to a show in over a year. Um, hold that thought. Ask me again after the show. My hype this week. All right. So Chris Davis did not steal my thunder.
Oh,
I have three things that are connected though, and they're kind of close to what Chris Davis was talking about. All right, so my hype this week goes, or my sweat. I'll start with that. My sweat goes to Dead Space. I am very excited about this Dead Space announcement, but I am now worried about the fact that it is a remake. Strongly rumored that it is a remake of Dead Space One. Dead Space One. I don't think enough time has really passed to justify it as a remake. It.
I mean, it's still
I
playable
was.
today, right? Minus
Yeah,
like
it's very playable.
shooting parts. I think the
It's
biggest problem is
it's still very playable. It's not going to have the same impact as Resident Evil 2 because Resident Evil 2 came out in 1998 on the PS1. Like this is still a Xbox 360 PS3 game that plays perfectly fine and I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope as a reboot or as a remake it feels like a big enough improvement or a big enough departure from that original game that it justifies its own existence. But knowing that hearing that it's not Dead Space 4 or not just a full blown reboot or reimagining of it, um, is a little concerning to me. I'm a little worried now. I was really hyped. Now I'm worried. My actual hype though goes to the fact that even if this remake is announced and I'm disappointed, the Callisto Protocol still exists, and that's the actual spiritual successor to Dead Space that's being created by Glenn Schofield, the guy who pretty much created the original Dead Space. And this is basically him saying, I don't work for EA anymore, but I can make a game that looks and feels Dead Space that's not Dead Space. And it was announced, I think, last year at the Game Awards and whatnot, and it looks awesome.
You have to
I,
remind you about the important part of that, Nick.
My fuck you of the week
It's a
goes to
PUBG.
anyone who brings up PUBG when talking about the Callisto Protocol, because goddamn, I can't think of a bigger buzzkill than bringing up PUBG in relate. Yeah, it like they mentioned it. It was mentioned in like a marketing piece that like it actually takes place in the same universe as PUBG, but like I can almost guarantee you that when push comes to shove, when you're actually playing that game, the only thing there's gonna be like references to things that people who played PUBG might recognize in like notes or something. But other than that,
but
if
the
you've never
world
played
of
PUBG,
is so undefined that it can be
it's
fucking anything.
it's just piggybacking off of the name notoriety, the name recognition to try and like boost interest in it. But I don't think it's going to have any significant impact. It shouldn't have any significant impact. These two things couldn't be any less related. It's just so fucking stupid. And every time I try and talk about being excited about the Callisto Protocol, some asshole like Brad here brings up
PUBG,
this
Nick.
fucking PUBG bullshit, and it's like drowning out the rest of the conversation. And that is so
There's lore in PUBG.
obnoxious.
That's how I feel about Resident Evil 8.
All right, hold that thought. Let me finish my 4-player minute because we got to get going. My thank you of the week goes to the video game gods. I just started talking. I was reminiscing about Ghost of Tsushima yesterday, and I was like, "Oh man!" For some reason, I'm just thinking about this game, and I listened to the soundtrack yesterday, and I was like, "God, that game is just." I want more of it. And then today they announced the director's cut, and it has an expansion, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of ashamed of it. I'm double dipping. I'm getting that
You
PS5
should be
version.
ashamed of it, dude.
I don't
It's
even
not
give a
that
shit.
good.
My
Whoa.
but also like I want to keep the ball rolling and just I'm getting Dead Space. Dead Space is coming back in some form, and that's something to be happy about. So like I feel like I'm kind of getting everything I want. If I can just keep this luck going, maybe I can squeeze a director's cut of The Last of Us Part 2 out there, maybe with factions to make all you crybabies happy as well.
What do you mean you squeeze
but
it?
I'm just saying, like I feel like I'm having really good luck this month.
Are you hoping for
I'm getting all the things that I want. So
Are
You're
you hoping?
manifesting.
Are you
I'm
hoping for?
manifesting these things into existence.
Are you hoping for a Dead Space collection where you get like all 3 Dead Space games on one cart or on one disc? I mean,
I would
No,
buy
not
that.
particularly.
I would buy
I
that.
mean, I would.
what did you? What was
I'm-
your? Did I ever ask you your opinions of Dead Space 3?
No.
I'm playing Dead
Yes.
Space 3 right now with Robin. Actually, all right.
But it's a different game co-op, right? Like I played it.
Yeah.
I played it
is.
co-op and it was like just a joke and kind of like ridiculous. And then like recently I tried to play it again with Green Toast, but he cut out one time and like his connection dropped and I remember just walking around. It was like a lot more difficult and more scary. And I wonder how much of a different game it is if you play it single
I think
player.
it depends on who you play with. I'm playing co-op with Robin, and she takes that series pretty seriously. So we're
No, but it's just
Yeah.
not scary. It's not scary
mean,
when you have
yeah,
somebody over
She
your
bullies
shoulder
Nick when he
shooting.
misses shots.
I mean, nothing is really scary when you're playing like that.
The
When you're
na-
playing with somebody else,
I
Resident Evil 5 could be scary, but when you're playing that with someone else, it certainly ain't.
no, but I mean they got giant squid, man. Oh,
close us
Brad,
out, Nick. Close us out.
Brad, if
Nick.
I set up, if I produce a show where Brad plays Overcooked with Malia, would you guys sign on to that?
I'm never doing that again.
Why? It sounds like a great grand old time
No,
for all
we
the
played
viewers
it together, and it was bad news.
because she was screaming at you, right? That's like
Yeah.
that's literally the Jersey Shore like video game experience, like just watching people scream at each other.
Don't think anybody
okay.
wants that.
I was like, that's a weird. I don't know how you're making that
it's
connection.
hilarious. You watch people love that shit. They love the car wreck. They love the arguing about, you know.
Hey, Nolan has talked multiple times about playing that with Bernadette, and they love it. And I'm like, man, I can already feel the anger, but like just the intensity of playing with it. You know, honestly, anybody, but playing with a significant other sounds especially
Really?
stressful.
You wouldn't like work together?
I mean, we try, but that game always devolves into just yelling at each other. I mean, it's funny. It's funny how it devolves into that, but you know, I don't know. All right, we need to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for listening, David. Thanks for joining us in this segment. We'll be back next week to talk about more video games. In the meantime, you can find all of our episodes at 4playernetwork.com. You can find us in Discord. Again, reminder, if you're new, join the Discord, jump into that introductions channel, let us know you're there. And if you want to support us financially, you can go to patreon.com/4player, or you can just subscribe to our Twitch channel. If you do that, you can ask us questions and all that jazz. Just go to the supporters channel in Discord. But anyways, thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week. Be safe.
There we go. Okay, we're ready.
Hey,
Is
Nick.
this a cameo?
How
Oh,
are you
no.
doing? Sam Whitwer here. And I wanted to wish you a happy
like a cameo,
35th
dude.
birthday, dude. Happy 35th
Who is that?
birthday, you youngster.
I don't know who
Kid.
this is.
I'm a lot older than you. I hear you're a fan of Days Gone, so should I be wishing you a happy birthday as Deacon? Here, let me try that. Let's see if that works. You ready? Hey Nick, it's Deacon St. John. Happy 35th birthday, dude. Get out of my face. Tell Boozer he's gotta take his chopped off arm and get moving. Said something about going north. O'Brien. How's that? Is that good? That's Thursday's gone for you. I have been asked by Nolan, Nick, to tell you a little bit about the making of Days Gone. And really, I'll tell you what, I was in the first year on that project. You know, I would come in every now and then go away, and then come in every now and then. We would shoot certain things. And I was not a happy camper because we kept doing like different tones. Like one would be like a funnier Tango and Cash, where I was more like Kurt Russell thing. And then I'd come in 4 weeks later or something like that, and then we'd be doing something like just totally different. And I didn't see how everything fit together. And I would ask John Garvin, well, how does this fit with that? And what happens? And he's like, well, I can't really tell you, because he was writing it. So I was really unhappy because I come from a business where in TV, what you shoot is pretty much probably what's going to end up on the air. That's the raw material that you gathered, and there's no chance to gather different or better raw material, so you better live with it. Now, things turned around when John Garvin explained to me. He said, I was really unhappy one day, and he's like, dude, we're just messing around. I'm like, what do you mean we're messing around? It's not working. The scene's not working, or this scene that we shot doesn't fit with the other scene that we shot. He's like, well, yeah, so? I'm like, what do you mean so? It's my face on there, man. And he's like, dude, we've built into the schedule a bunch of exploration. And if a scene doesn't work with the tone that we eventually settle on, we'll just reshoot that scene. I'm like, you scheduled this all? He's like, yeah. You budgeted this? He's like, sure. I'm like, so we're just messing about and figuring things out? He's like, yeah. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. So then suddenly I got his process, and we were just exploring and messing things up and trying this and trying that, and eventually ended up on a very, very, the tone that Sony wanted, and the tone that we ended up with was a very dark and realistic take on the post-apocalypse. So much so that all of that, sort of that player dialogue you get in video games where like the main player is like, I found this coin. I wonder what it is. It seems like a clue. It's like the player talking. It's the game character talking to the player, right? I wonder if I shouldn't leave yet. I'll bet there's more clues here. Stuff like that. So we decided to like, hey, well, what if we say all that stuff like it's actually being said, which would make Deacon a little crazy, which totally makes sense if we're going for ultra realistic. This guy is a shell-shocked man under siege dealing with the worst reality ever. So that's what we were going with, and we made Deacon a little bit more subtly funny than outwardly funny. I think I came to the dude. Here's something funny. John Garvin, when I would sort of when we were trying the funny stuff early on in the process, he would be like, "Dude, why do you sound like John Wayne?" And I'm like, "What? Don't sound like John Wayne. What?" Because we're trying different voices and stuff like that, and I had to explain to him, like, listen. Eventually, I'm like, look, it's just a little bit my voice because John Wayne came from sort of the same area I came from in the Midwest. And I got a buddy who talks a little bit like John Wayne because of that. Harrison Ford has the same thing. He's like, Chewie, take the professor in the back and plug him into the hyperdrive. Sort of, I don't know what it is, but it's a Midwestern thing. But John didn't like it. And he told me to stop sounding like John Wayne. So I hope I didn't sound like John Wayne. So, dude, Again, I wish you a happy birthday. I hope that this little insight into making Days Gone was interesting and not tedious. But if I were to give you any advice, don't sound like John Wayne. It's a bad idea. This guy knows.
Oh.
All right, Nick. Do something fun and safe for your birthday. You're awesome. And O'Brien...
Holy shit, Nolan.
So it literally just got here. Like I was actually talking with Bernadette because I just got home, and I was like, "Well, fuck. I guess it's not going to even get here." I was hoping it'd be for your birthday, and then we could do it on the show. But obviously, like I said, it just got here.
They have like a 2 week. They have like a 2 week limit, right? Like if they don't
Yeah,
get
something like that. Yeah. I was
like
actually supposed to get a
literal-
refund tomorrow if he didn't do it, but so he did it in the nick of time. Nick of time.
Oh my
but yeah,
God,
happy birthday,
Nolan.
Nick.
That is the.
This is not just for me; it's from everybody. We talked about it. Unfortunately,
the
Crispy and Brad
wildest-
weren't here.
That is the wildest shit. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Dude, Nick's